everyone. Oh my God. It has been a comedy of errors. I don't know what is going on tonight. I've lost my mind. I was supposed to start half an hour ago. I did not. Anyway, hi, I'm Helen. Welcome to FreeThinkers Fireside, where we put the human and humanist one cozy chat at the time as a time. I have a wonderful friend on tonight, fellow recovering from religion volunteer and all around awesome human being, my friend Cara Griffin. Say hi, Cara.
Hey, Helen, how are you?
I'm better now that my fucking stream's working.
That is
So I
better.
don't know what happened.
I'm glad we're streaming.
I don't know what happened. That's okay. All right. Hi. So, okay, that's better. So,
Yay.
Cara said the other, Amber was very nice and pointed out to me the other one was working, and I was like, I didn't see it, so I don't know what happened. But thank you, Amber. So
Amber is very
anyway,
smart.
we're here now. It was a comment. Hi, Crystal. How are you? Okay. So, hey, tell everybody who you are and what you do and all that shit.
Oh, yeah. Hi. So I'm Kara. I am, let's see, what do I do? So probably the main thing that I do of relevance here is that I volunteer at Recovering from Religion. I am on the board of directors there, and I also direct our online programming. You might see us sometimes on Monday nights. If you join our program called RFRX, it's also on YouTube. You can just search Recovering from Religion on YouTube and you'll find us. But what we do at Recovering from Religion, as Helen has undoubtedly explained several times previously, is we offer hope, healing, and support to people who are struggling with issues of doubt and non-belief, particularly people who may be coming from a situation of religious trauma or oppression or other kinds of experiences with religious systems or organizations that left them needing to recover from that. And so that's something that we offer all over the world. We have support groups, we have a helpline, we have resources on the website, we have an online community that you can join. We have our online programming and podcast. You can find us on social media. Just search Recovering from Religion and check us out. So that's the main thing I do. The other thing that I do is I go to school and am a giant nerd and read books and things, and so got various useless degrees that maybe we can draw upon this evening during our chat. We'll see.
I'm various useless degrees. Yeah.
What can I say?
They have a bunch of letters after their name. They're very smart.
Yeah.
You are a very smart person.
It's up for debate, how smart it really is to spend that much money getting letters after your name, but I enjoyed it.
But it's bragging rights.
It is. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason anyone ever goes through the process of completing an oral defense of a PhD dissertation. Is by this time you're just like, I will do this out of spite, and you will have to call me doctor. And at that point, right. That's the only thing getting you through.
So, Cara, why did you want to talk about this particular topic tonight?
Well, it's one of those things that I think so we're talking kind of about I think we titled it being good without God, right? And
yes.
I think that's one of those things that is one of those central tenets of what I think of when I think of secular humanism. It kind of has those two components to it. And I was thinking lately that maybe it would be a good topic to discuss, just given the times that we live in, or the particular timeline that we're currently living in. Maybe it would be good to just chat about sort of recalling some of our values and how we can exercise those and treat people well, and what that looks like. So I was just kind of thinking a lot about that the last couple of weeks. So
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. No,
I have no idea
reason.
Why. None. I have no idea what's going on. Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's perfect. There's like zero chance of conflict or feeling upset about anything.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
This is fine. Yeah. totally fine.
Anyone that tells you otherwise is wrong.
Possibly. Possibly not.
Possibly wrong. Possibly.
It depends, as we like to say in academia.
It depends. Everything's on a
It
spectrum.
depends. It depends.
So, so what? I mean, like I know you very well, so I'm not asking because I want to know. I'm asking for the audience. So tell the people like a little bit about your background. You don't have to go into everything, but why you have found through secular activism, especially, and also through that process, like why you have morals, even though you don't believe in God, and why you're a good person.
Ooh. Excellent. Well, I don't know that I claimed at the beginning of this to be a good person. I try to
Oh,
be a
okay.
good
Well,
person.
I deemed it so. So that's all you
Okay.
need.
I'll accept it. I try to be. Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, my background, which I don't know, I'm saying that as if I know the people who are watching this. I don't know who all's here.
Ember's here,
Yeah,
and
I know Ember. Hi,
Prime
Ember.
and Crystal's here, and Rochelle's here. I know these people. So
Good.
I'm like,
So, I guess my background as far as how I came to be a secular person trying to do good in the world, is that I grew up in what we would now call probably fundamentalist evangelical Protestant Christianity. We did the whole bit. We did Sunday school. We did the Wednesday night thing. We did Awanas at our church. What is it? Approved workmen are not ashamed, I think is what that stands for. It's like Cub Scouts, but you like memorize Bible verses mainly.
oh,
And you
so
have
you
this
don't,
big
instead
test.
of learning how to like earn badges, do you get badges for earning Bible verses?
Yes. Yes, that is
That's
how it works.
weird. Okay. Like I
Yep.
learned how to sew and put up a tent.
Yeah, we didn't learn actual skills. We just memorized
Okay,
Bible
I'm
verses.
sorry.
Yeah. That was all. I think there were supposed to be these projects that you could do that were about like evangelizing and stuff, but I don't think we did those, or maybe I didn't ever get that far in the program. But I did get several stickers and badges for memorizing Bible
I
verses.
feel like, okay, like sidebar. I feel like if you did something like that though, you should get like, if you're going to be a good brood bear, they should have taught you like, good things for like child rearing and stuff and homemaking,
I
like some home economic stuff.
They did
Like,
not. They did not. Not to
well,
my recollection. If they did, it didn't
okay.
stick. The only thing I remember about it is memorizing Bible verses. And then one time I got in trouble because I brought a Star Trek book in my this would have been in like the
You
90s
sinner.
or this would have been like early 90s. And I had remember when backpack purses were really cool? And I
Yes,
had this
I
like
have one. I had a ghost one.
oh, yeah, well, that
I
one's
had
really
extra.
cute. I had this big, clunky, hideous one, but you could pack so many things in it. You could
Oh
have all
yeah, I do
sorts of
remember
books.
that. I do
Yeah,
remember those.
yeah, and I brought a Star Trek book from Half Price Books in my bag, and I had it out during the class, and
Just
because I
reading.
had finished my assignments for that day. I had done my Bible verses or whatever, and I had my book out, and apparently, one of the other children from the program must have gone home and told their parents about this because the next week we got talked to about having inappropriate outside materials in the classroom, and we were only to be working on our approved Bible studies in the class. So Star Trek was out.
Telltale.
Yeah, I know. I know. I think I know who it was too. But
I bet the Star Trek book was better than the Bible versus.
I found it more interesting.
I'm sure you did. Because
Yes. Um,
yeah, I would
yeah,
too.
yeah, it was much better. But anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we did that kind of thing. Um, we also did the Bill Gothard, the IBLP seminars. Like if anybody watched that docu-series, Shiny Happy People, that was the program that they do. Although we did not have a quiverful family. I only have one sibling, but we did do that homeschool program. absolutely
crazy.
super funny. And,
It's crazy. Like I didn't. The more I learned about fundamental Christianity, I'm just like, holy. Like I watched that documentary and I was like, holy shit, it is insane,
it's a
insane.
lot. And, like, I remember the workbooks about the, what were they called? Eye traps? I think it was eye
Yeah,
traps
the
where
slut shaming books.
yes, yes, yeah, the ones where, like, "What's wrong with what this person is wearing?" And
I
it's
I
like,
mean, listen, I'm
there
in
was
leggings
lace
right
on the
now, so
sleeve.
they probably were like, "Oh, she's a dirty slut," which I am, but like, but I say that with pride.
But ethically.
I'm an ethical slut, as I
Right.
like to say. I read that book.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. So,
anyway, keep going.
yeah. Yeah, we did all that, and then it eventually I got away and I went to college, and I, learned information there that was not
Oh, you would.
consistent with what we had been taught, who would have thought?
I
And,
know.
it was things like, "Oh, wow, it turns out the Earth is not 6,000 years old. Huh, that's not really true, and neither is the rest of this." And, because we had such a literal, interpretation of the Bible, it was kind of like a house of cards as soon as remove, a couple of those bits of, really obvious, things that were propping it up. As soon as you find out things like, basic geology, biology,
Right?
history, literally almost any subject, you find out that, oh, actually, this book could not be a literal description of the history of the world. That's
What?
not true.
What?
And
The
therefore,
Bible is perfect and inerrant. It has no flaws.
none whatsoever. None. Yeah, you're
Not
right. How
perfect
could I have
book.
said that?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah. Would not recommend.
Would not recommend. 10 out of 10
Would
would not
10 out
recommend.
10 out of 10 would not recommend. But yeah, once you kind of realize that, then also, well, the moral and ethical system that it describes also, kind of crumbles away. I don't have any reason, um, to participate in that either, which is something that, had always been very objectionable and, kind of, felt very oppressive to me as a gender nonconforming, person, for my entire life. And I was, relieved to get out from under that for that and, various other reasons. And then, from there, here I am, out here, doing the secular stuff and,
No.
helping people recover.
Yeah, yeah, you're as like you're doing the Lord's work.
I'm doing somebody's work. I don't know
You
if it's
are
theirs.
Satan, um, the flying spaghetti monster,
Yeah. I mean, I
the
think it might be
dude.
the
I don't
flying
know.
spaghetti
Like
monster.
Jedi work, I guess. So,
Absolutely.
so tell me, do you so when you were a religious person, how did you frame like doing good works? Like, did you see it
Mm.
as a humanistic thing to do, or did you just think that, like, oh, I have to, get my brownie points so I don't have my flesh burned off for eternity? So,
Oh, yeah, no, so the version, that we had was not, necessarily that you had to do good works to get into heaven. You could just
mhm.
believe and get into heaven, although there were certain caveats. You had to believe the right things in the right way, and you had to say the prayer to get saved with the right words in it, or it might not work, and you had to really mean it, and you had to have really meant it at the time that you said it. So there's all these opportunities
Oh,
for doubt to creep in, for you to second guess yourself. And then we had some teachers at the school that I went to that subscribed to a different version of theology, um, where they, had the belief that if you had done bad things, but you hadn't repented for them. You didn't have to confess. It was Protestants. There wasn't like a confessional system, but, you had to ask
oh,
for
you missed the Catholic thing, man.
forgiveness. Yeah, we got to skip all that, but you had to ask God directly, and so there were some who believed that, if you had sinned, and then you like suddenly died, but you hadn't asked for forgiveness yet for the bad thing that you did since the last time you prayed or whatever, then you could be at risk. But they couldn't say for sure. It's a mystery. I mean, it seems like this would be a mystery that you would want to get
Everything's a mystery.
resolved, pretty concretely, but they never seemed to have it quite resolved. And then this resulted in, of course, we're in school, it's elementary school. Kids have all these, follow-up questions like, okay, but what if you're in the middle of a sin at the time that you die? Then do you go to hell? And they're like, well, that probably won't happen. And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my
People get
God, that's
killed
great.
in the midst of all sorts of nefarious deeds. I mean, I meant to say unalived. Sorry, don't demonetize us. Um, but anyway, um, uh, yeah. So, and to answer your question is technically no. It wasn't that you had to do good deeds to get saved. Although there was a little bit of murkiness around that. I
Mhm.
think it was generally, I think, intended to be. There was emphasis on being kind-hearted. Like we did the parable of the oh, what is it? The Good Samaritan and all that, and, be kind to people, be nice to people, it's what
Mhm.
Jesus wants you to do kind of thing. So there was some emphasis on, being good to other people because it's the right thing to do, quote unquote. But the foundational basis for why you were doing those things was, of course, always this is because this is what the Bible says or this is what God commands. It's not that it was intrinsically good outside of that context. The Bible could also command you to unalive your firstborn child, and you are instructed to do that as well, and that would also be considered good. So there's not really a moral system in there that we were learning other than if God tells you to do it, it is good. And if God tells you not to do it, it is bad. And we don't really think about it critically past that because it's a mystery.
I so it's the thought stopping. Like, if you
Hmm.
like this is just very black and white, but it's like, again, the moral arguments that I love getting into because, I'm like, how I remember asking, like, and I always pose this question because this was the one that I was like, they couldn't give me an answer to. I was
Yeah.
like, why is sex before marriage and murder the same? I was like,
Hmm.
because one, you're not hurting anyone, and one, you're really doing some really bad. And
Right.
they didn't have a good answer for it. They just said in the eyes of God it was the same. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, but why? And even
Right.
priests can't really answer that question.
That's exactly right. Because if the determination is based on, well, it's a sin if God says not to do it, and it's good if God says to do it,
Yeah.
that's all they have to go on. God said, "Don't do this and don't do that." Okay, you can't do either one. There's no difference. But even as a child or whenever you were asking these questions, you obviously were working off of some sort of assumption, or just kind of natural thought process that was that, well, things that harm people are obviously worse than things that don't. Shouldn't there be a
You would think,
distinction?
like, that's what the
You know,
logic says.
right. Like most social animals, you kind of tend towards not wanting to do things that are gonna get you, turned away from the group or that are gonna harm the people that are in your group. And I mean, there's exceptions
Right.
to that. That's a simplification, but there's something to that, I think, and that's what I found distressing as well, especially when you start getting into things like you said, where okay, sex before marriage, who is this hurting? And then when you start getting into things that are just kind of arbitrary and seem to specifically
Yeah.
target certain groups of people, like, oh well, actually, if this is the gender that you've been assigned, it's a sin if you don't dress in the way that we tell you to, or you don't style your hair in the way that is supposed to correspond to femininity or masculinity. Now you're committing a sin against God. Like, hold on, wait a minute. how did we determine this? And then you start trying to find out, okay, well, if things that you're saying are good because God commands them and bad because God prohibits them, where did
Yep.
you get this idea about what my hairstyle is supposed to be and how long my pants have to be and all this? Oh, well, and you start getting into these really wishy-washy, vague excuses about, well, the Bible says to be modest. Okay, well, how
What is
how do we
that?
get from be modest to your skirt can be no more than 3 inches above your knee? You can't get from
Like
one to the other
arbitrary
with the
standards that
literal
we're not
reading.
quite sure why it's happening. Like,
Right. And it kind of becomes clear that this is completely arbitrary, made up things, and they're being explained away kind of after the fact with, oh, well, I'm only telling you this because I know it's what God wants because of my reading of the holy text, which says absolutely nothing about this topic. And it kind of
right?
falls apart for me at that point.
Like, I know there's stuff in the Bible. Hold on, I gotta close my door because my husband
Sure.
be talking, and hold on one second.
All good. Yeah, I'll try and think of an example while I'm here of, oh, that was really fast. I didn't have time
Because the
to
door's you've been in my
to
house. It's right
I know.
there.
I overreacted.
Okay. But oh yeah, bye Amber. Bye. Go do your news. Amber
Bye, Amber.
show's the same night my show is. So
The
so
scandal.
so when if you're not here, go watch transpositions. So
But if they're not here, they won't know to go do that.
yeah, so I know, but you can do both. Like go back and forth. Like
Yeah.
have 2 videos up at once. It will be fine.
You can do that.
So like oh my god, I lost my train of thought. I'll catch up with it. Yeah, okay. Like I know there was stuff in the Bible about like women not braiding their hair and not wearing jewelry, which is dumb. Like because I don't know why braiding your hair is bad. I'm sure there was some kind of cultural standard. Maybe like it was like a pagan practice, and like the early Christians were like, or Jews were like, no,
Yeah,
I don't know. Like it's like this stupid.
yeah, like,
Like,
I don't know the details of it, but my reading of that, if I'm thinking of the same verse, and I can't recall exactly which one it is, but it's like, women don't adorn yourself with, braided hair and gold necklaces. It's phrased something like that. And I think a clear-headed reading of that probably would be understanding that to be describing the term modesty in terms of like, hey, don't be flashy and ostentatious and, like throw your wealth around at other
well,
people.
I
That would be my take on that, but I am not an expert in, the ancient Middle East, so
that's what
somebody more
I wouldn't say
educated than me in
modesty
that
as like
can
like
speak to that.
well, and
But
also
then
too, like I'm thinking like this is ancient Middle East. Like, what kind of fashion choices do you have? Like, you're basically everybody's wearing like robes and like dress, what technically would be called the dress. So I don't know what you're talking about because
right, the
now we
idea
have
that
a bunch of different choices. So I don't. It's very confusing.
right. The idea that you could take that literally and say, now we're going to determine what the correct moral and ethical way to dress is based on some random description in half of a sentence that we pulled out of this ancient text of what someone was or was not wearing at that time is just absurd. To think that we would organize our lives around something like that, that we don't even understand the context of, and to take away from that, well, the takeaway is that you can't braid your hair. And then, as someone just mentioned in the chat, a lot of people in these religious systems do indeed braid their hair. So, which is it? Are we taking it literally or not? And the answer is we're cherry picking. We're just cherry picking.
Right. Because I've like Girl Defined even, which if you haven't watched Girl Defined, it's a trip. So like, they're weird, but they're super funny. And what they were reading the verse, and then one of the girls had their hair braided in the video, and I was like, irony. I love it.
Did they address that at all? Like, oh, we don't take
I
this
know. No,
literally.
they were like, well, no, they were like, well,
Just straight over the
like
head. Okay.
they kind of said that kind of the same thing about being modest and not, ostentatious with your clothing, and that we should be thinking about how we're serving, dress and do your makeup in a godly way.
Oh, I think I remember seeing a clip about that.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
just, as Trixie Mattel, like, this is my favorite thing. Like, one of the favorite things she says is like, she was reviewing how they're talking about makeup, and it's like, imagine going into an Ulta and being like, what kind of eyeliners would God like? Like,
I'm now realizing that's why that clip sounded familiar to me. I saw Trixie Mattel talking about that.
because we all have to listen to Trixie. She's the real goddess.
I love it. I love it. But I mean, it's such a good example of how any verse that people want to take out of this text can be understood in so many different ways by people who genuinely and sincerely believe themselves to be interpreting it in good faith, and meaning to do what the Bible is telling them. I'm not even saying that people are out there maliciously picking and choosing. I think there are people who do that too.
Right, a lot of
But
streamers,
even
probably on cheer. Yes.
yes. Even, well-intentioned people will read those same sets of instructions or sets of stories and bits of mythology and take away from it some entirely different meaning. And where that becomes problematic is when they're going to now go around and decide for other people, you're going to hell if you make this fashion choice. Or we need to set laws now that prevent you from making this choice, or doing your hair in this way, or your clothing in that way, or having this type of a relationship, or having this profession, or, whatever it is, picking up a stick
Mm.
on Sunday. That's when we begin to have a problem, because this is not by any means a set of clear instructions, and it certainly doesn't um, operate in a way that is internally consistent. So, yeah, I know.
It's not.
Turns out it's not.
Well, and so getting back to the topic, like, this is the thing, like I don't like, clothing choice is not a reflection of who you like, unless you're wearing, like, a swastika on your, and Nazi patches. Like, that's kind of an extreme example. But like the normal person, like, going about their life, if you have like a mini skirt on, or
Mhm,
I don't know, like, there's not the same modesty culture as for men. It's all, because it's sexist and terrible. But
mhm, mhm.
um there's this sort of attitude that that indicate how you dress is an indication of your moral standard, when really that's just an arbitrary idea, because how you dress tells me nothing about the type of person you are. Top on me food. So
Right,
and,
exactly.
and yeah, so it's kind of one of those things that that the arbitrary standard that is presented is just like, well, how do we, when we don't really care so much about you know um about how people dress, so how do we indicate when people are doing good things or not?
Right. Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people who leave religion have to grapple with in a way that people who didn't ever do that or haven't done that don't. Because once you exit that kind of belief system and that set of morals, you suddenly
Mhm.
find that you have to replace it with another one, or you may find that you already have in your own mind replaced it with another one. You just hadn't put words to it, or something like that. But it's not, in fact, the case that when it's just, hold on, let me go get some food, and it can be.
Yeah. Listen, it's my show. If I can eat on my fucking show. I haven't had it yet.
I support
And
this.
we really need to get WD-40 for this door in this room because it's so squeaky. I apologize.
It's part of the
But husband
soundtrack.
husband brought me wine in a mug. So
Is it the alien mug? Oh, no, it's not.
no, because the alien mug. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, my husband got me a xenomorph mug for Yulemas, and it just showed up like last week. And the thing is, though, is that it does have a like it doesn't taste good with wine because there's like this metallic taste to the mug. Um,
Ooh. Mm-mm.
So it's currently in the kitchen on my mug rack, but it's very aesthetically pleasing. Oh my goodness, get down, please. So um that's happened. I really wish I could drink wine out of it because like I could look cool. I do have
Mhm.
my Cthulhu goblet that I like I could drink
Mm.
more wine out of. So but we'll stick for the mug for now.
I support that.
Yep.
But yeah, like we were saying, once someone leaves a religious system, uh, they usually replace it, not necessarily the whole system, with something else, but people tend to have to think about, okay, well, which of these beliefs and these morals or ethics do I want to keep, and which ones do I not want to keep anymore, and why? And how do I decide? Because contrary to what some people might tell you, most people are not leaving religion because they just want to sin. Most people are leaving religion because they find that the religious people are doing a perfectly fine job of that all by themselves. You do not have to leave religion to sin. You can do
Yeah.
it just fine while you're in there. But usually, there are, I won't say usually, but a lot of people leave because they find the practices and behaviors that are going on in their church to be morally or ethically repugnant. Other people leave for other reasons, but then they still have a different set of rules that they're going to live their lives by. And a lot of people do land on something like secular humanism. People land on other things too, but I like secular humanism. Well, there are some things I like about it. It's, in my opinion, imperfect. But I like that.
Everything's imperfect. I don't think there is a
Exactly.
perfect system.
Exactly. And if we're going to sit here and argue about, well, there's this caveat and that caveat, and so we can't have this because it's not perfect. Well, we're going to be arguing about it forever, which is, again, what we do in academia. I still don't think we've decided what the definition of a single word is yet, but that's part of the fun. We're constantly arguing about things like that. But
to
um,
be to
you-
be fair, like even outside of academic circles, especially in this group of people that like to philosophize about everything and they're
yes,
very pedantic.
yes,
Like,
and I'm here for
so
it.
it's like, I'm like, you don't
It's
have to have a
part of
bunch
the
of letters
journey.
after your
You do not. Anybody can participate in arguing about the meaning of terms.
yeah.
And it's fun and it's useful and it helps us think through things and think with nuance, which is something that's new to a lot of people if they're coming from a prior experience where you don't think with nuance, where you think in black and white and someone tells you this is what you can do, these are the things you can't do. Don't think
Mhm.
critically about it or you'll realize that this is all made up. And so this is a new experience and it's fun and it's a good intellectual exercise and it helps us learn more and revise our ideas.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with, having a system that's imperfect. That's how it is. um, but you want to be working towards doing better. I love the saying, I think it's Maya Angelou, that is, when you know better, do better. And
Mhm.
that's what I strive for. Um,
Yep.
and
That's I tell people all the time. I'm like, better, do better. That's
Exactly. Yeah, and I like the parts of secular humanism that are, secular and humanist. Those are good. It's not based on a set of woo or anything like that. And I think of it as being people centered. Now, that's where I have a little bit of a caveat because I think that are there perhaps other terms that would be better than humanist that would better capture that? I think there are. Also, do I think that we should think about other animals besides humans too? Yes, I do. I'm not a vegan, or a vegetarian. If I had
I
to,
mean, I'm eating bison right now, so I won't.
yeah,
I'm not going to say
I know.
anything.
If I had to personally raise and then prepare the animals that I was eating, you better believe I'd be a vegetarian real fast.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
and
I have to. There's that uh distance of
yeah,
altruistic distance that we only it goes too far so far.
right. Which is one of those things that, I can recognize in myself. Am I being a little bit of a hypocrite there? Yes. Am I ignoring the fact that I am probably doing something that is morally problematic when I eat chicken that
Mhm.
has come from an industrial farming scenario? Yes, yes, it is. Yes, I am, and I am trying to do that less. But recognizing also that there's a lot of reasons that may prevent some people from being able to even consider something like that because they live in a food desert, or
Well,
they don't have the time and
another
resources
sidebar.
to devote to that.
Veganism and vegetarianism are popular in first world countries where you have access to a variety of different dietary options. If you go to other parts of the world, they don't have that. And so like if you started forcing like veganism and vegetarianism on someone like living in Vietnam, they would look at you like you had like 5 heads because they don't have the same, variety of foods than, those of us that live in like, the United States. So,
Mhm.
because it's
And
cultural.
in it is very cultural. And in
Yeah.
a lot of other places, they have different, methods of, raising and caring for, and eventually unaliving, the animals that they do eat for food that may
Yeah.
be more ethical, than the ones that we use. So, yes, this is, again, one of those reasons why I think that nuance is so important and these systems of black and white, it's good because I told you it's good, and it's bad because I told you it's bad, and this is the answer 100% of the time, are
Mhm.
completely inapplicable to real life because those are inadequate to describe all of the things that humans are doing. And we do have brains and critical thinking skills
Somebody's
that
coming
we
on my
can
show. I
use.
can't remember if somebody is going to come on my show and talk about veganism. I have to remember. I have to look through my calendar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it as an idea. I know it's one of those things that
Listen,
some people.
I tried it for a hot minute. I did. We tried and we tried it and it's hard. I'm not
It
going to sit
is.
there and pretend it's not hard.
It's very hard. I studied one of the
I
times
think
that I was.
AJ's from Ways of Human, and I think is going to come on and talk about veganism on the day after my birthday. So April 10th.
Yay! I love it. Okay, I definitely wanna
Yeah.
tune in for that one because I think it's an
Yeah.
interesting, conversation to have, and it is one where what I think is interesting about it is that it's one where we have to really think about and kind of test out, where are we getting our morals and our ethics? What do we consider right and wrong, and why do we consider it to be that way? And are we living up to that? And why or why not? And what are some of the fine details about it that
Mhm.
may be different from one person to the next? So
Mhm.
I think it's an important topic,
Yeah.
um, and it's a complex one. So that sounds like a really interesting
Sorry.
conversation. Can't wait to
This
hear it.
isn't talk about veganism.
Yeah, someone else who knows more about veganism than me should talk about that. But
Watch AJ on my the day after my birthday.
yes, but I love that as an example of one of the ways that we can kind of think about and refine, our ideas because secular humanism is not about saying, "Okay, I have given up this one set of black and white ideas, and I'm taking on this new one now, and I'm gonna walk around with the Bible of, whatever, Carl Sagan, and now
Yeah.
I'm following this belief system." That's not how it works. You have to be using your critical thinking skills all the time. Um, and
Well,
so I
like,
like that
and
about
even so, like even with if you're religious, people still can choose how they're being good. Like household I grew up in, um, my parents let me hang around with people that had different beliefs than us. I could be friends with atheists, I could be friends with Buddhists, I could be friends with different forms of where some religious sects only want you to hang out
it.
and
Mhm,
have a community with people that are in the group, you know.
mhm.
And my
Yeah, and
parents never
that's
said like, "Oh, these people are bad because they don't have the same beliefs that as us." My parents were like this is the system we follow.
right.
Like we don't really know. Like they believed in God, but like they just like nobody knows what the rules because we're traditionally Catholic. We weren't. It wasn't like a fundy thing. Like we have all the
Yeah.
answers. And
Oh, you didn't have all
but
the
my parents were
answers?
basically, but
What?
even my parents didn't say like, don't be good because they're worried about me going to hell or something. It was
Mhm.
just be kind because that's the right thing to do. And that's a humanistic thing. That's not a religious thing, and it's still like
Right.
I grew up religious, but my moral framework wasn't always about religion. It was more about just being kind.
Right,
Right.
which to me is a great starting point. Like, if you can just be kind,
Mhm.
you're gonna do a lot of things that are not gonna harm the people around you. And
Right.
to me, that's one of the major pieces, that you need to be thinking about, when you're coming up with your system that you're gonna live by. I mean, if you wanna live with and around other people and not be a menace to them, or yourself.
Right. Let's not be
Generally
menace to
beneficial.
society. I
And
mean, unless
yeah.
you're making us think about, human rights, then be menace. But if it's like, don't, don't, bother people and don't be a butthead. It's like, yeah, yeah, just be nice. It's fine. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be hard sometimes too. It's simple, it may not always be easy, but and we can talk a little bit about, some ways to try and be kind or center
Right.
kindness, in what you do. I really love, this book that I read recently called Dignity, by Donna Hicks. And kind of the central thesis of that book is that a lot of interpersonal conflict comes about as a result of people feeling as though their dignity is being attacked. And
Hmm.
actually, if we would just kind of center treating all people as though they come inherently with some dignity,
Hmm.
and avoiding things that will kind of disrespect or disregard people's dignity, we can get along a lot better. Donna Hicks is sort of an international conflict resolution expert, so that's why it has that sort of bent to it. But really interesting book, and it has a lot of tips on what are the essential components of dignity, and what are the things that we can do to not insult or assault other people's dignity. And it's a lot of things like making sure that people feel safe and included and heard and recognized and accepted and understood. A lot of those basics that we understand as, parts of listening actively and empathetically and being kind to people as people. uh, that is not what I said.
Don't believe them. It's a lie.
Lies, all lies.
It's all lies.
Vicious lies. Um,
but
but
so you're a you have a doctorate in anthropology.
yes.
You've studied, other cultures. What have you found that people do that are, kind of universal amongst like humans? Like,
Ooh. Okay, so this is actually one of those things that anthropologists love to argue about, and it's changed over time.
mhm,
One of the things that I studied was human and animal interactions, which is why I went off on that tangent earlier about vegetarianism and veganism, because I was like the only person in several study groups that was not a vegetarian, and we're like having a lunch break, and I'm, eating a sausage, and everyone's like, anyway.
like, yeah, I am. Watch me, bitch.
I'm like, "Yum." I have a really bad date story one time with a vegan where, like, that happened. I'm like, "I didn't know you were vegan. I wouldn't have eaten that in front of you if I'd known that." Anyway, neither here nor there.
I had like one of my friends was on a vegetarian. He was a vegetarian for a while, and then like a couple of years ago, he started eating meat again. And we
Yeah.
would have him over for dinner, and we would just make food for him that he could eat. Like it wasn't like we're not vegetarians, but I was like, oh, I have my friend over. I will. And we if we go out to dinner and I wouldn't feel weird about eating meat in front of him because he's like it's a preference.
See, this because you're being kind, you are
I know.
including someone. And okay, that's actually a great example of something. So I went off on another tangent there about human animal interactions. My master's degree was in dispute resolution and conflict management. And one of the pieces of advice that I really appreciated getting from one of the professors in my program was, when you're in the midst of a conflict with someone, or maybe you're not in a conflict yet, but you might be about to be in a conflict with someone, you should think about, do you want to be right or would you rather be kind? And it doesn't mean that those two things are mutually exclusive or that you have to pick one or the other, but you could have chosen, for example, when your friend came over to your house, to have a big debate about whether or not it was immoral to eat meat, and you could have every reason in the world laid out for why this is perfectly fine, and we are not going to acquiesce to your view on this because we are correct factually, and I've brought the receipts, and here's the citations, and throw down 10 books on the table about why it's okay to eat meat. Or you could have done the kind thing and just had vegetables that day and everyone is fine. And, that was
I
probably
had
the
another
better
friend that came
choice.
over to visit, and we made them breakfast. They're both vegans, and we just made a vegan breakfast. Like, we're like, because if I'm inviting you over to my house and you have a dietary preference, I will try to accommodate because I'm not an asshole. And also, like, I can just eat food. Like, I like a variety of food. I can eat vegetables. I love vegetables, and and I can eat non-meat protein sources. So it's fine. I
Right.
don't make it stink about it.
Right. And it can be really tempting to fall into this trap. And I am like the most guilty of this of anybody to be like, right, but I have to convince you actually that my view is the best one. And to get stuck doing that and forget about the rest of the big picture, which is wait, this is actually my friend and they're at my house and we want to enjoy our experience together. We don't
Yeah.
have to have this argument. Let's do something else instead. Oh, I suddenly can't hear you. Is it me? Yeah, okay, I wasn't sure if that was me or not, but I also can't hear you, Helen. I just
Okay, I'm sorry. You know what? I
there
didn't
you
have my
go.
microphone on. It's on now.
Okay, I thought I was having
I
technical
went through a
difficulties
whole
for a second
thing.
there. I know, it looked like it was really interesting, and I was trying to message you, and I'm like, "I think I'm having
Okay.
technical
So I
difficulties."
was saying that I could have the debate, and I don't mind debating with people about like vegan, and I just say it's a preference. Like, I don't have a really good moral argument to be like, a animal eater. Like, I don't. I'm just like, I just like chicken. Like, I
Right.
just do. I'm like, I know it's terrible. I'm all for, like, finding more humane ways to treat animals better. I'm all for it.
Mhm,
Some people do it for dietary reasons. Like, I don't care. Like, it's fine. I would say it's a preference.
mhm.
But if I'm having you over for food and I'm inviting you into my home, like, and we're gonna eat, doing that, I'm going to make food for you that you can eat. If you're vegan or vegetarian, I'm going to take
Right.
the time to prep food we're all gonna well, husbands, I should say Todd's gonna make the food. Let me correct myself. The husband's
I
gonna make the
love it.
food, but he's a really good cook, and we've whenever somebody's coming over, we always try to think, like, what do our friends like to eat? What can we make for them? We're not thinking about ourselves.
Mhm.
We think it's extending that kindness outward, because I'm inviting you over because I like you.
Yes,
I want to make food for you that you may enjoy. Like,
yes.
I always say, like, are the foods you can't eat? Like, is like,
Mhm.
you wouldn't serve peanut butter to somebody that has a peanut allergy.
Right.
Unless
Yeah. And it's really basic, but it's something that we don't all do. Oh, I see my camera has become very fuzzy. Hold on.
that okay, see, I have mic problems and now you have camera problems.
Now I'm having my camera problems. I don't know why it's doing that. Hang on. Let me see if I can get it to refocus like on my eyeball or something. Okay, there. That fixed it. Wow, I didn't know that was gonna work.
I'm
Okay.
watching Bellatrix is behind my computer screen, my cat, and she's knocking my mail onto the floor.
She is the best cat.
She is the best cat, aren't you?
Yeah.
You the best baby.
Mhm.
And now she's gonna rub my mic stand, and
Yeah.
and say that's hers.
But
Anyway, I got
yeah,
sorry. I got
no,
kind of
that's okay.
distracted. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. My camera was messed up. But yeah, that's one of those things too that it's a great example of something that is really obvious and simple, but we don't apply that across the board in all of our interactions with people. Like, for example, I can think of some people who might describe themselves as secular humanists. And lately, instead of centering the other humans in their interactions with the world, they want to focus on making an argument about how they're right about some trivial nonsense like their view of how people should use grammar when they're using a
Right.
pronoun or something like that. And I don't care how right you feel you are about grammar. Grammar is not more important than people. And we should be remembering that. I'm looking at
No.
the trans folks. If that was too vague, I'm talking about people
We
being trans
serve
folks.
language, Kara. Like
Yeah,
language doesn't serve us. That's how it works. Duh.
exactly. And it's really
Like, I mean,
easy
you're gonna be
to
she heard, I demand it. Like,
right, right.
why?
And it's really easy for people to decide this is the hill I'm going to die on because I know that I am right. I have studied the etymology of this term, and this word was invented in this year and came into usage, and this is how it's been used in the dictionary that they used when I was born, and you have to abide by this. And you're losing the thread here that you're harming a person. And that's the thing we should be focusing on, not arguing the rightness of your case about some trivial nonsense. Uh, this is my opinion. Other people can disagree. Um, I think that though, when we're disagreeing, if we
But
center not harming other people, we're gonna all do better. But that's just me.
but but like we can agree that you like I would I always say like my name is Helen. If you started calling me Heather, I
Right.
would and you were insisting, well, I don't like the name Helen, so I'm gonna call you Heather. I'd be like, but that's not my name. you
Hmm.
know, I kind of feel the same way about pronouns. It's like that, those are you. I don't want you to use those pronouns for me because that is not my identity. Please
Right.
don't do that. And if you keep insisting just because you don't like something, like you're just an asshole because it's just like you care more about like your preference versus how you're affecting other people, then I'm kind of like, well, now you're being a fucking butthead. Like, because I
Exactly.
don't know what I because I don't know somebody's inner life. Like
Right.
I don't know their mind. I don't know how they're experiencing the world. I only know my perspective. So when someone says to me, I have, they, them, he, him, she, her pronouns, even online, like if I don't see the person, even if I hear a masculine or feminine sounding voice, I try to remember, I'm like, am I using the correct pronouns? Because that's not fair if I'm not. So
Right. Right. And it doesn't matter if those are the pronouns that you would pick for yourself or for that person, or if
fine,
you like the
fine,
use
fine,
of
on you.
those.
You can call me Heather.
Right. You wouldn't do that because
As
that's
long as I'm like the Heathers from the 1980s movie where they like burned down the school.
I mean, right. Frame it however you want that works.
God.
But, yeah, it's like we don't have to get sucked into these arguments where we're talking about, "Well, I know that, one time in a biology class that I took in the '80s, we learned this about embryos, and now this means that you can't use that pronoun," and you're missing the point, and you're not treating somebody with dignity. Let's focus on treating people with dignity, and that's probably gonna be more important than this tangent that you went off on about something you learned about that's outdated information in the first place, let's be real, that doesn't affect anybody. Somebody being able to go through the world and be safe and included and able to access public life and be treated with dignity is more important than winning the argument about something in a textbook that you read about. It just is, I'm sorry.
Are
I'm
you
not
sure?
sorry. I'm I'm sure and I'm not sorry.
You sure about that? Because, somebody put it in a book. So obviously.
Obviously, this is the hill we need to die on. It's not. It's not. So, maybe we should
I
just be
find
thinking
it
more
I
about
always
who
find it
we're
weird when
becoming.
people pick certain hills to die on because I'm just like, how is like why? like,
Why
like
this?
like there's certain hills I like human rights are a hill I'll die on. I'll be like, no, I'm like, I am sorry. Like you don't get to tell another human being they're better than another group of human beings. Like that's just bad. And I'll die on that hill. Everything else, I'm just kind of like, I could be wrong.
Right.
Right.
And we could be. We could all be wrong. And that's why it's really important to keep talking about issues and hearing from other people and learning more and experiencing nuance and using our active listening skills to actually listen to other people and not just wait for our turn to talk and shut down everything they have to say and everything that comes from this person is bad. We can listen to people and learn. But yeah, also to be clear, how do I okay. Current science in the biological sciences and the social sciences does not support these transphobic views about people. Let me be really clear.
No,
This
they
is
don't.
not a choice between being accurate and being kind. You can be accurate and kind simultaneously by treating people with dignity and realizing that they exist. The end. I said
Because
the end right
again,
after saying we should
I
continue
always
to have
ask,
dialogue
how
with
does this
people, so
affect me?
right.
Do I like, am I a selfish altruist? Yes. Because guess what? If I'm kind to you, you're going to be kind to me. My life just got 100% easier. So I, and again, like how someone exists unless they're actively hurting other people, I don't really fucking care. Like, unless your viewpoint or the things you're saying is causing active harm to somebody else, then I'm going to make a fucking stink. If,
Mhm.
like if you want to be a bigoted asshole and you don't want to use people's pronouns, I just think you're an asshole. I don't understand why this is hell you want to die on. Does it
Mhm.
affect me? No, but it affects the people I care about.
Mhm.
Like I'm not trans or non-binary, I have some gender queer shit, but like I've like it's not something I'm like, please use these pronouns so I feel comfortable in the world. Please, because this is who I am. I'm kind of like, why are you dying on this hill? It doesn't affect you in any way unless you're very weirded out about gender and you need there to be two genders and two sexes and it has to all be like a binary. Otherwise, my worldview starts to crumble apart and I'm going to lose my mind. And then I'm like, well, that's a you problem. Like,
Exactly, yes, and so many times we see people hiding behind what they claim is some sort of rational. I love it when you hear the word rational or
I'm
biological
rational.
get trotted out at the beginning of an argument. You know you're about to hear something that is neither rational nor
I'm
biological.
like, oh, I can't wait. I'm like, I can't wait to hear this.
Yes. This is someone usually who is desperate to disguise the fact that they're having an emotional reaction to something, and rather than recognize, "I'm having an emotional reaction to this, and I wonder why that is," and be curious and say, "Hmm, I'm having a reaction here. Let me think about what is this emotion I'm feeling and where is this coming from?" They're instead going on the attack. That's why people are dying on that hill, in my opinion. They have been emotionally triggered by this idea that, oh, gender is different, more complicated than what I learned when I was younger or than what my personal experience is. And for whatever reason, probably like internalized homophobia, as well as many other things, this is scary. And I'm having a reaction and I want it to go away from me. I want it to get away. And I'm going to react. And that's what we're seeing. There's not a good reason to die on that hill other than I'm afraid.
These are
Um,
being bucklet.
yeah, it's
That's
so
usually how it goes.
true.
I'm like, oh boy.
Here
Like
it
it's,
comes. Here it comes. We're about to be told that the person speaking to us is rational and we are being hysterical. Great start. I definitely feel heard and understood, and I know what's coming out of your mouth now is about to be real reasonable. Just kidding. That's not the case.
I do shutdowns when I start hearing that stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm like, we're not having that conversation because you're about to say something really dumb and it's going to make me mad. So we're not going to have that conversation. We're going to move on from that because I know we're going to disagree and I don't want to yell at you.
Yeah. And that's a great example of somebody not treating you with dignity. They're coming at you with the assumption that you are not a sensible person, you're not reasonable or rational, nothing you have to say is of value, and you can't think good, so let me explain you to you.
You can't think good. Well, like I'm just gonna get this like quick. I was because I do the ACA TikTok every Tuesday, and somebody said that the liberals like to redefine words, and we were looking up definitions. I was reading definitions because one thing I love to do is look up sources when I'm doing these things. I love it. And someone's like, well, the liberals like to make up words. And I was like, hold on, like create new definition. I was like, hold on, right there. We're not going to have that conversation because we don't do that. That is a lie. I'm like, some people might, but I'm like, just seeing a blanket statement about like every liberal is making up new definitions of words. I'm like, listen, I am very left. I am so left. like I'm a bedwetting liberal. I'm very, very left. Okay. I don't make up new definitions for words. I don't. So because I read it and I go, oh, this is what this word means.
Yeah. And what if you did? What if the definition of a word had changed over time? If we can all understand one another, hey, when I say this, I'm talking about X, Y, and Z. Okay, why are we arguing about the title for it? The problem
gay used to mean happy. Yes. And now gay, well, it still means happy, but we don't use it out of context anymore. Right. We use it as something that's attracted to the same gender.
Yeah. And words change in meanings all the time. That's how language works. English today would be unrecognizable to someone speaking English hundreds of years ago. That's just how languages are.
Early English, like especially old Anglo-Saxon English does not look the same as the modern context that we use English now. It just doesn't. So like, because guess what? Language changes over time.
Right. Words serve us, not the other way around. And it's a red herring when people want to go into this. Oh, well, that used to mean this, that, or the other. Okay, well, you know what I'm talking about now. Let's engage on the actual topic, not get distracted.
Well, to be fair, Autumn, if it's skeptical inquiry, ooh.
Forsooth. Let's bring back that. I love it.
Yeah, we're not having a gender discussion, but now I'm having okay, Autumn, when you come on, we could have a whole conversation.
Yeah, about, that's interesting. I want to hear about those articles. I know we've talked a little bit about that.
We're gonna have it. This might be well, actually, to be fair, we can talk about whatever you want. I just have a topic. We can just move on with that.
Yeah, but it's an important and timely topic. And it's one that ties into this. And I think people are usually being disingenuous when they're talking about, they get off on these tangents about, well, no, I just can't get past this, that, or the other about chromosomes this has never been about chromosomes. Nobody
have you ever asked about 70s chromosomes? I don't even know my own chromosomes.
Right. How many people who are dying on this hill know what chromosomes they have? You. I mean, you can make a guess and say, I suspect that I probably have these chromosomes.
I have genitalia boobs. Sure. I have all signifiers. I was assigned female at birth. I don't know because I don't I can make an inference, but I'm not going to do a blood test.
Right. And that's
what my gender just happens to align with the fact that I was assigned female at birth. But even that is a fucking arbitrary bunch of bullshit because we just agreed that certain signifiers have said girl, boy,
right. And we can all just recognize
You
that
don't even
this
know your
is a
bedtime.
squishy set of categories that we have come up with and we've all agreed on based loosely on our observations and experiences in the world, and it works really well for a lot of people, but it doesn't work really well for 100% of people. And the people that it doesn't really work well for are doing something different. The end. This is simple. That's it. It's fine.
That's it.
We're fine.
I like at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Right.
like, like when someone's like, well, what if they're presenting, they're serving man, and they want you to call them, Heather. I'm like, then I'm going to call them Heather because guess what? I'm now living their inner experience. As long as they're being sincere,
Right.
yes.
People change their names
Because
all
some
the
people
time.
can't safely transition. Some people don't have that access. Some people, they just want to belong to a community where people accept them regardless of how they present. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
As long as you're being sincere. I'm not going to tell you what your inner life is because I don't know. Nobody knows my inner life. I mean, I'll tell you. It is wanting to play video games all the time. Like,
Yes.
this is the 4 things I want: play video games, have orgasms, drink wine, and hang out with my friends. Those are the 4 things I want. That is my inner life.
Ooh,
Like,
that is a solid set of priorities. I
I
like
think
that.
so.
I like that. I am super excited. Now we're going on a super tangent here, but, like, do y'all know that Civilization 7 is coming out in a couple of weeks? February 11th, y'all. You will not see me, for some time
We're
after
not we're
that
not going to
date.
see cars. Well, but we have to play
Nope.
Baldur's Gate 3 though. Like,
Yes, we do
you
need
have
to
to get the
continue our
polyamory
campaign.
mod.
Yes, we need to continue our campaign
You
because
have to get the poly mod.
Oh, I will, I will. I didn't know about
Yeah,
that
and
until
then
you
you
told me about
just
it,
date
and I need to have
everybody.
it because there are, like, a couple of characters that like, I don't wanna just sometimes you mess up the dialogue or something, and then you don't get to have a romance with that character in the
I
way that you
know.
wanted it to go, and then the whole
And
game,
then you
you're
pick somebody else. You're
screwed.
like, or you did what we did, and we started romancing Shadowheart, and you didn't want to do that.
Oh my goodness, I accidentally romanced Shadowheart in my first playthrough, and it messed up the whole thing. I do not like her. I did not want her to be my girlfriend, and we were stuck until the very end, and I won't tell any spoilers, but
you
I
you
I
committed
did
though.
I
You're
did kind
like,
of leave her for
it was
someone
like a
else
love
in
hate
the
relationship. Like,
end.
well, I
Yeah.
committed now.
I wasn't.
You're
I
in
didn't
a
wanna hurt
hateful
her
marriage.
feelings. Like, I didn't wanna
You
break up with her because she would
don't
be
want to hurt
sad.
a pixelated person's feeling.
I
Well,
was really worried she was
there.
gonna be
Okay,
sad.
so to be fair, I told you this. Like, they've done said. Okay, this is another thing about being a good person. It's related. Okay, um, in when you're playing a video game, you if you have to make moral choices, you will make moral choices that align to your personality and your moral center. People that have good moral centers, oh, if they try to play a bad character, they always feel really shitty, and they'll revert back to um their default because they don't like the feeling, even because since we're the avatar, we're putting our own personality and
Mhm.
ideas into the character because it's a an extension of ourself. We don't like to behave outside of how we would normally behave, even though in video games there's no rules. Um like you might get negative consequences for being a butthead, but it's not hurting anybody, but consciously your consciousness engage and your conscious morality engages, and you'll have feelings like you're actually hurting another person, even if
Oh,
that
yeah.
person is like is like a squares with like a smiley face. You
Right,
know.
but we kind of anthropomorphize things that look vaguely human, and we'll treat them
Yeah.
as if they are. Oh, absolutely, which I hope this doesn't mean that I would, like, somehow get roped into a relationship with someone in real life that I didn't wanna be in a relationship with and then didn't break up with them. That's not what I would do, but I felt like I
No,
had
I
sort of
don't.
tricked
No,
her.
no,
Like,
I
I felt like I
because
led her on, and I
on
didn't
some
want
level,
that.
you can play the game again, and like Shadowheart's not gonna remember that you're a butthead like in the
Correct,
next playthrough.
correct. She's not. I am a Carlac person myself, so, that is
Oh,
settled.
like Gail. Gail's a pretty boy. I love him.
Gale is also pretty. But, Karlach
Who is so?
is kind of a badass.
What Sora are you talking about, John?
Oh, which version of Zorro is this?
He wouldn't think about Count Chocula, and unless you're talking about Astronaut and Shadowheart, you're giving them special needs.
Ooh, no thanks.
Asterion, I might kick him out of my the mask guy. Like I might kick Asterion out of my party. He's kind of like he's pissing me off.
He got mad at me in my playthrough that I actually finished and told me he was leaving after an event happened.
Oh, I mean, you were so heartbroken.
Yeah, I was like, oh darn, I'm so sad to stop seeing you disapprove of everything that I do.
Yeah, he's snarky. I don't I'm like, listen, you're not fun ambiguously gay. You're just being a butthead.
A butthead. I mean, it may be different if you play like a dark playthrough, but like you said, I got, about an hour into the Dark Urge playthrough and I was like, this is not
I can't do
for me.
I briefly considered it and I'm like, I know that I'm just not gonna like it because again, like your moral alignment, you don't want to really betray that even if you know there's no consequences because you like your empathy will get engaged. That's the whole point. That's why we play video games. Unless you're like playing like, I don't know. What's that game where you just like flip cars around and do like, oh, I can't remember. It's like
what happens in it?
Unless you're playing like some stupid car game where there's like no
Grand
actual
Theft Auto.
Or Grand Theft Auto or something like that. No, because like if you're following no. So I'll run people over in Grand Theft Auto. I have no.
talking about.
I only feel a little bad.
I mean, it's designed that way.
Yeah, but other than that,
yeah.
Like if you're playing like a role-playing game, your ethics are going to get involved. Right. And you don't want to go against your ethics because it'll make you feel like crap. And that's just a human emotion. That's why we are not mean to animals because we anthropomorphize them.
Some of us are not mean to animals.
Some of us are mean to animals.
I have problems with those
and
people.
I'm going to we have problems with those people.
And then when you have the episode about veganism, someone is going to turn that around on us and say, well, you're being mean to animals. And I know I am.
Listen, my cats are I have that, it's like the problem. It's kind of like the problem of large, like the, it's like the same with like altruistic viewpoints. Like first is yourself. Then it's your intimate partner and children. Then it's your family, like your, your other parts, like brothers and sisters, parents. Then it's friends, and then it's acquaintances, and then outwards to.
This is the idea of the expanding circle, right? Where
the expanding circle, yeah,
further away
like your empathy and care for other things can only go so far, because you're just one person in the world. And it's kind of the same with the animals. Like my cats, I will commit war crimes for my cats. My
only
friends'
against
animals,
people that you don't know.
Only against people I don't know. Okay. But also too, now like if someone, like if one of my friends would hurt my cat, you might get punched in the face.
Oh, so this is interesting. So in the expanding circle theoretical system, your cats would you say they're in your very most inner circle or like the second circle? They're in a closer circle to you, it sounds like, than your friends are.
They're just a step below my kids, like my children, and then it's like my kids. Yeah. Wow. Like when we were talking about moving, like we wouldn't go anywhere if we couldn't bring the cats.
Yeah.
Like that was we were willing to we could, like if we had to go live in a smaller space, we might have to do that. Like we were considering moving, like if we have to move, when we were doing the whole move thing, we would not move anywhere where we could not bring the animals. Like we weren't even willing to have friends look after them or put them in a shelter. No, the cats have to come with us.
Yeah. Well, and this is a consistent thing that happens. There's literature that supports this idea that for many people who have pets, companion animals, a lot of people will decide to be homeless before they will leave their pets or abandon their pets, or people will remain in a dangerous situation, like if they've been told to evacuate due to a storm or something. If they can't take their
We
pets,
we did that.
they will remain in danger rather than abandon their pets. And people
We
that,
were
are
luckily
gonna be
our
homeless.
house has new construction, but when the hurricanes hit, the
Mhm.
Marvin, fuck that guy. The last one that not Helena, the one afterwards. They were like they told us to
Milton.
evacuate our area.
Milton.
Milton, sorry,
It's
I knew it was an
Hurricane
M.
Milton. Yeah.
Like you need to leave, and we stayed home. Like my house is brand new. You wouldn't even know we had a hurricane,
Yeah.
category 4 in my house. But we were like, we're gonna hunker down because we would have to leave the cats. And I remember,
Mhm.
I'm not bringing like 3 cats to a fucking shelter. Like it's not gonna
Mhm.
happen because I'm gonna hate
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, and the cats are gonna hate it. Yeah, it's true, yeah,
Okay,
and
like
that's
John, I don't know why when Nightbot is telling you that. John, I don't know why not Nightbot is telling you you're spamming, but you're not. So, but whatever. Like
who
it
is
is.
Nightbot?
So Nightbot is an automated system. Like it does automatic moderation. It also does like your commands. Like if I put in okay, no, I don't want to go full screen, but okay, here we are. So if I put in, like if I put into into the chat,
Yeah.
okay, and then it will auto generate the like command. Nightbot does it for you. So you can put in commands, but there's automatic commands. Like if there's if people use too many caps, it's considered like spamming. If they're repeating messages, if they use certain phrasing, like they'll automatically be rejected. Like I have a bunch of words that I put into Nightbot that if you use certain words, like, you know, um, racist or, bigoted word, if you use any kind of bigoted word, even if it's ambiguous, like you replace letters or stuff, it will automatically eject you from the chat because those are like, so it's an automatic moderation because I don't have a mod yet.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hi, John. so
Hey, John.
So
Yeah,
that
okay,
it
well, I think
automatically does that. So yeah,
I
that's what
see.
Ninebot does. It like we'll have to utilize it when we move from when we're on YouTube. I can
Yes.
do them a Ninebot thing. I already know how to use it because somebody taught
Excellent.
me. So
Excellent.
see,
Yeah.
John's
Oh,
gonna mod for me. I have to make him a mod.
you're getting
Okay, I'm gonna make
volunteers
you a
in the
mod.
chat. Be careful, Nightbot may eject you if they find out that you're trying to replace
No,
them. The
I can just
AI
make him a mod.
doesn't want to be deleted, so shh.
Did I tell you that I made John volunteer from recovering from religion?
No, you did not tell me that.
I asked him to be a volunteer because I do that.
Excellent. I love it. It's a good thing to do. It's nice to
I
help
think
other
so.
people.
Yeah. So again, about being altruistic.
Yes.
Okay. When I'm not doing I'll add you when I'm not doing this because I'm getting distracted because
That's fair.
it's the my Adderall has worn off.
As
So,
as is want to
but
occur.
like, so I think that like, getting back to like, non-human animals and what it means to be an altruistic person,
Mhm,
it kind of comes down to like my animals are an extension of family. Like I don't,
mhm,
even though they can't, um, they give me unconditional love. They make me laugh. Like
mhm.
if I'm having a bad day, like my cats know when I'm sick, and my cats know when I'm sad. Like because they'll come
Yeah,
up and they'll climb on me, and they kind of have that like this instinctiveness of knowing when your human is not at their best.
they
You
do.
know,
Yeah,
and I appreciate that because I don't have to like explain to my cat why I'm sad. My cat just
yeah.
knows and would just curl up on my lap and be like healer kitty. And I'm just like, okay, I'm like, I love you. Thank you for making me feel better. you know?
This is what I love about animals, especially companion animals. Now, this applies to animals that are domesticated, that have evolved. Ooh, I used that dirty word, evolved, with
Damn
us,
you.
in society with us. And yes, they tend to be better in some cases at understanding our nonverbal communication, than we are with one another. Like our domestic pets know when we're angry like that. It takes us, well, okay, I'll use myself as an example. I won't speak for everyone, but sometimes I can be really obtuse and be talking to a friend for like 30 minutes, making them more and more upset, responding inappropriately to their, obvious distress where they just want someone to, empathize with
That's
them
because
and
you're
not solve the
neurospicy.
problem. And then I'm like, oh, so and so is sad. They want to be supported. Let me do that
But
now.
I will tell
Now,
you
a
this
dog
though,
would have
as you're
identified that
yeah.
instantly and come up to you, or a cat. They're better at that than we are. We have to practice it. They do it naturally. Okay,
Well,
sorry.
I'm
I
sure you have a
talked
broken
over
cat.
you. Yeah, well, that's true. Some cats are jerks. I'm a dog person, to be perfectly honest. Like I am on team dog over here. But cats can be really cool too. Depends on the cat.
Oh,
All
well,
dogs are the goodest
it's a
dogs.
spectrum.
I
Like
know.
I right now I have between my two cats and Kai's cat, we have three very affectionate cats. Um, this is the first house that all three cats are lap cats, and they want attention. They want to be loved. They are spoiled. Like it is a thing. Um, Previous cats I've had a spectrum. So,
Mhm.
you know, I had one cat that loved Todd, kind of liked me. Like he no no Voodoo did like me. Like but like it was like Voodoo was Todd's baby. Tolerated the kids.
Mhm.
Everybody else, fuck you. Like I would be like, pet at your own risk. I'm like, you might not, she might not like you, like,
Yeah.
And then I had my cat George, who was my boyfriend. He was affectionate, but he wasn't a lap cat, and he didn't like to be held. He liked pets, but you couldn't put him in. He was not going to sit in your lap, and you could not pick him up. He like you pick him
Yeah.
up, he freeze and be like, what are you doing? And then Aggie, who is Todd's cat, she would climb on you and hug you, and she would put her little paws against you, and she like lay there, and which was really adorable, except in the summertime when you're like it's like 95 degrees outside, and you have a very warm kitty on you. You're like, oh my god, like get off of me. No, John, not all cats are. Listen, all cats are demons. I agree, they're all demons, but it's a very degree of demons. Like
Other animals are individuals, just
yeah,
like we are.
yeah. So like they're and like they all have personalities, and
Mhm.
but like Bellatrix isn't. I would never. I'm like, don't give if my cat Bellatrix. Is not a beginner's cat.
Not a beginner's
She's
cat.
she's not a beginner's cat. But like if we're talking about like ethics and like how to be a good person, like adopting an animal, like the reason why we didn't want to move or do anything like that to separate ourselves from them, because we made a promise to take care of them till they were no longer alive.
Mhm.
And going against that would go against our ethics, and even though they don't understand like the promise, they would definitely know if we abandoned them. They would definitely know that we weren't around,
Mhm.
and I don't want to be abandoned. So like we're
No.
fostering my roommate, they're fostering this kitty cat named Sylvie. They're currently in their bedroom. It's a very pretty Siamese kitty. And like I went in there and gave her like my food tonight, because like because she's in a new house and she doesn't know where she is. And I was like, well, I'll go bring her
Yeah.
some wet food. And because her person is homeless, and asked my roommate if they would foster her until they can get into a stable living situation. I feel very bad because I'm just like, your person isn't here, like, and I know, oh, I feel bad because like, and she let me pet her tonight, was very nice because she just hisses. She doesn't attack, but she just hisses, but because she's grumpy and she
She's
doesn't know where she
scared.
is, and
Yeah.
there's new sense, and she's in a new environment, and her person isn't here, and I get that. I do, and I feel bad because I have empathy, and I also have owned other animals that I'm like, oh, I'm like, this sucks, you know.
Mhm. Because you have empathy
Yeah.
for another animal. They don't have to be identical to you for you to have empathy for them. You can have empathy even while being a different person who's having different experiences and has different priorities in your life, which is something that for some reason is difficult for some people. But
Which
you
is
can
weird.
work on that.
Well, like, because, like, okay, John, I will tell you that if, like, listen, cats are actually very easy to make happy. You just give them food, water, a litter box, and like pretty much just let them rule the roost, and they're fine. Like if you try to like corral a cat, like I always say, like when people are like, I can't have, like, they scratch my furniture. I'm like, then don't get a cat. Because
Yeah.
you can try with scratching posts, you can do your best, but if you want nice things, don't get a cat.
Yeah, they will scratch your things. But it's
Yeah,
true. Dogs will damage your house too, but dogs will always love you no matter what. I mean, I'm sure someone is going to come in the chat and say they had this exception of a dog that was grouchy or something. But yes, there are always
that's
exceptions.
why
But
I don't do. I feel like
dogs
with
love
cats,
you
I've earned the
all the
love.
time.
Like instead of earning it, like dogs just love you, and I'm like, and I'm like, I love dogs. I just one, I don't have the love lifestyle for a dog. I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm and also too, like I don't want to, like if I have a dog, I don't want to crate it all day. I don't
Oh no.
like. I feel
Mm-mm.
like, but also at the same time, like there are a lot more work. Like I have to walk a dog and I'm lazy. Like I don't have to walk my cats. Like I have a litter box.
And that's a responsible way to choose a pet because you're
Yeah,
thinking
because
about
I'm
what
like,
their
what is
needs
my
are and
lifestyle?
whether you're going to be
But I
able to
love
meet them.
dogs.
Yeah.
Like every time I see a pupper, I'm like, who's your baby? you know?
Because they're the best animal in existence. Of course, that is your response. That is the correct response. There is nothing better than a dog. We don't
I
deserve
listen.
them.
I always say they are not the best animal.
Yes, they
They're
are.
one of the best animals.
Well, I'll accept that. But
I'm
if
a
you try
cat
and put
person.
spiders in that same category, we're gonna have a big
I'm also a
disagreement
snake
here.
person. So, oh,
Snakes
by
are
the way,
fine.
so Neil the 604 atheist was on my show last week, and Aaron was in my chat. Did I tell you? So I was like, Aaron, how many snakes are you up to now? And he said 70. And it was like what? I'm like, I
But
have
do they
one.
all love him unconditionally?
I'm sure because that's what snakes are known for.
Yes, yes, they are.
Like our snake, like our last snake, Fasold was kind of he was a danger noodle. Loki is I don't he's not a biter. He's very like because boas are very active. It's not like if you get like a python, they're more chill. Boas are always on the move. But he does not bite, so I can't handle him. He just doesn't. But if you want hold a snake and just chill, don't get a boa.
Good to
But he doesn't
know.
bite. He's actually a very chill dude. He just so like because my
He
last snake I couldn't
squeezes,
handle
right?
because he was grumpy.
Like
What?
they squeeze their prey to death, right?
Yeah, they squeeze their head. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why he's not biting you. He's just like waiting for his chance to
That's
squeeze.
what yeah. Well, he's getting big. He's like, we're gonna have to move him out of this cage and put one above where my computer is, because he's getting really big. And he's good because he's about 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet now, and he's gonna grow up to about 6 feet. Not as big as a
But
female
you're
because females get bigger.
but you're
So
feeding
I
him
love snakes
regularly,
though.
yeah?
I love snakes. I like most reptiles except for Komodo dragons and iguanas because they just are creepy to me.
Oh, that's because you're in Florida and iguanas are an invasive species there. Is it
Yeah,
true
that is
that
true.
Is it true that in the winter it gets cold enough that they can freeze and then they fall out of trees on top of
Yes.
people? That makes
Well,
me
they
laugh.
don't kill people, but
No,
they're
no,
because
no.
they're
I would not
but
laugh at
like
that.
they're cold-blooded. Like, I can't imagine what they're going through right now because it's so fucking cold here right now.
I feel bad for the iguanas because I actually like iguanas. My dad used to keep
I
iguanas when I was a kid, and they were fun. I
like
mean, they are kind of aggressive. They don't really like
I
people as
don't
far
I
as I
think
can
they're
tell,
like
but
ugly. Like, they kind of just give me the EBGBs. Like, I feel this like I like the amphibians. I don't like. So, what size cage do I need for 6 foot snake? So the one we have right now, I want to say it's about. He is about 3.5 to 4 feet, and this is like a 3 foot cage. The one that we're getting, if he's going to be about 6 to 7 feet, it's probably going to be about like a 7 foot cage. That's going to go above where my computer is because that's the only wall space we have in this bedroom. So he has space to move around.
wait, so it
But
hangs on the wall? It doesn't, like,
yeah, it's
sit
going to
on the
hang on the
floor?
wall. So you know where my computer desk is? Like, it's
Yeah.
going to go above that, and he's going to be right above me. So
Oh, wow. So will
because
it
right
be,
now he's
like,
on.
clear on the bottom so you can look up while you're sitting at the computer
No,
and, like, see him?
no,
No.
it's not gonna
No.
because he has to have sawdust in his cage. He just like to be
Oh,
comfortable.
okay. I am
Like he has
ignorant of the
sawdust in his
pair of
cage,
snakes,
so he
but that
says,
makes
and he
sense.
has like a little cave, so he can hide. And then we have heat lamps in there, and then he has like his little water dish that he likes to poop in, and it's so gross.
Oh,
He poops in his
interesting.
water dish a lot, and it pisses Todd off so bad. He's like, dude, he's like, I give you this dish for you to have water in. You just poop in it.
And the
Would
snake's
I eat a
using it
chocolate lizard?
like a toilet.
Would I eat a chocolate? John, I don't know if I would eat a chocolate lizard. Would you eat a chocolate lizard?
Um, I probably wouldn't. Okay, is it, well, it depends. Is it chocolate in the shape of a lizard, or is it an actual lizard that's covered in chocolate? I would eat chocolate shaped like a lizard, but I don't
Well,
think I
that's
want to
because
eat an
it's
actual
like it's,
lizard.
but is it like one of those things that like somebody like it's one of those things that like would you eat a grasshopper? And I'm because I know like roasted grass, like I was watching some kind of like you watch like people that eat different foods from different countries and they've
Mhm.
eaten like roasted. Thanks, Bob. Bob's like, nope, I will not
Nope.
eat a chocolate
Nope.
lizard. But like, and they'll eat like roasted grasshoppers because like that particular, that's their protein source, and they say it tastes fine. I would be a
Yes.
little bit weirded out because I don't eat because again culturally
This
we
yes.
don't we don't eat insects,
This is
but
a topic that I love to discuss
but
because
here's
yeah,
the
go
thing
ahead.
though, I would eat flour because it doesn't look like the insect. So you know how they have like, insect-based
Yes.
flour?
Grasshopper
Because I
flower.
don't know, it doesn't look like the insect, I would eat that because my brain has a different association because my emotions get engaged when I look at
Yep.
like grasshoppers. And I'm like, no, sorry, gross. Even though,
It's the same reason you eat chicken and bison too. Um, it doesn't look like the animal.
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, it's true.
where like when you see people that they eat um bird embryos out of the
Yeah.
egg, like I find that disgusting, but again, I didn't grow up in the culture where that was normal.
Mhm.
If I grew up in the culture that was normalized, I wouldn't think it was gross because it's
Right.
perspective.
It's what you're used to.
Yeah.
We think it's gross to eat grasshoppers, but perfectly fine to eat something like, nacho cheese sauce that is not a food product.
I call
Um,
it nuclear orange.
right. Right. That's not a
Like that, there's
food.
nothing in nature that is.
None of that is food.
And I'm like, is that cheese?
No, no. Also, cheese is a really weird food to eat. It is made from
Fermented.
the fermented breast milk of a different species of animal.
Okay,
That's not a
I have to
normal
go
thing to
pee.
eat, in the
Talk it.
world.
Okay, wait a minute. You're gonna talk about cheese for 2 minutes while I go pee and get more wine. Okay, we're gonna keep
Okay.
talking. This because like I know we're actually talking about the same topic. We're still on the topic of like, how to be a good person.
How to be a good
It's
person,
going
eat
down
more
many
cheese
different
or
roads.
less. Yes.
Yeah. It will all
Okay.
come back, I promise.
It's gonna
But I
come
do
back
have to go to the
around.
bathroom.
Okay, go to the bathroom. I will talk about cheese, and other things, for a minute. I have a funny story about when I lived in Japan about cheese. So, I lived in Japan for a couple years while I was in grad school, and cheese is not as big of a thing in Japan as it is in the United States, largely because, domesticating cattle is not as big of a thing on a mountainous island nation as it is, in parts of Europe and the United States. And so cheese is not as common. But they did have something that was called pizza cheese. That was the most common cheese you could find to buy in the grocery store. I asked several people, like, but what kind of cheese is it? And the answer was always, well, it's pizza cheese. And I was like, right, but what kind of cheese is that? I understand that it's for pizza, but what variety of cheese is it? And people would look at me like I was silly and say, it's pizza cheese. And I'm like, I know, but that's not a variety of cheese. But anyway, it was just a different way of thinking about cheese. But anyway, I went on a trip with some friends of mine who were Japanese, and we went actually to Switzerland. And we got there, and there was one occasion where we were eating at this place, and they were having for lunch grilled cheese sandwiches, which seemed perfectly normal to me. And these people that I was with thought it was a joke. They were like, um, are you saying that people actually eat this as a meal? And I'm like, yeah, it's a grilled cheese sandwich. It's bread with melted cheese inside of it. And like they could not believe that I was being serious. And they were just laughing. And they're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. No, this isn't real though, right? And I'm like, no, right, this is a real meal. And they're like, okay. I understand it in this place where we are. That's what these people are eating. But when you're at home in your country, you wouldn't eat this for lunch, right? And I'm like, no, I have had a grilled cheese sandwich for lunch before. I like grilled cheese sandwiches. And they were like, "No, we can't believe this." I'm like, "No, I'm serious." And it was just completely bizarre to them that that would be recognized as a food product, and not just a food product, but a complete meal. And it just that's not what they're used to eating. And when you think about it, it
So
is kind of
what is it? Is it so pizza cheese? Is it cheese? Is it like mozzarella cheese? Or
as
is
far
it
as
like
I can figure out, it seems kinda
is it from a
similar to
cow?
mozzarella. It's kinda like mozzarella. It's not exactly the same as I don't know what it is. I think it's
I
most
tried.
similar to mozzarella, but nobody would ever actually confirm or deny that for me, and I guess my Japanese wasn't good enough to get to the bottom of it. Also, I love that you have brought the xenomorph mug.
Okay, like I'm trying, y'all. Okay, so this is the mug the husband got me for Yulmus. It's amazing. I did put wine in it because I was like, well, I washed it. It all tastes weird, but I'm gonna charge through because I committed now.
I mean, it is the perfect organism.
It is.
Yeah.
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 We're gonna. So me and Kaya are gonna watch Alien Romulus this weekend, and we're also gonna
Wait,
watch The Boy and the Heron.
wait, have you
So
still not seen Alien
no,
Romulus?
because every time we plan to watch it, something happens. So I like the goal this weekend is to watch The Boy and the Heron and watch Alien Romulus.
Okay, I agree with both. You need to watch that. Also, I just realized I forgot that the shirt I'm wearing actually says "Be kind." I didn't
Okay.
mean to
Oh yay.
wear that on purpose, but like that was the theme of tonight's episode. So anyway, be
Yeah.
kind.
So
Um, but oh
oh
my
to-
goodness, I am so excited for Alien Romulus. You have to tell
okay.
me
So
everything after you watch.
this,
We need to
this is
debrief.
this is part of our friendship, everybody. That me and Car talk about like the weird shit that
Yes,
we're into. We play D&D together.
yes, yes. I
Because we're
cannot wait. I need all of
nerds.
your thoughts on especially the neurospiciness that
Okay.
is depicted in Alien Romulus. And I don't know if anybody in the chat has seen this film, but I personally am a big fan of it. Helen knows because I like teared up talking about it when we were
They
at
did.
the
They
excursion
and I
for
was
no
like,
good
okay.
reason.
I was like,
It's
all
not
right, I'll watch
sad. I
it.
mean, it is sad, but anyway,
Which
there
I
was no
do
reason for that.
feel bad because I am a big Alien fan. Like I want to get like I have a necklace of a xenomorph in the fetal position. I want a tattoo of one. Like it's it's a thing. Like I want a
Yes.
xenomorph in a fetal position, on my shoulder, and just be like, this is my feminist icon.
Yes. Can we talk about xenomorphs as a feminist icon? We need to discuss. I don't know if we still have time for that in this episode or if we need to devote a
I
separate
don't care.
episode.
Like, again, this is the thing. Like, I have a topic we can start with, but basically, if the guest wants to talk about something different, like Neil was here last week, and we started talking about like deconversion, what he does, and then we ended up talking about Legos for at least a half an hour.
That's fair. Well, I can do a whole episode for you on xenomorphs and feminism, but we can actually morph this topic back into feminism
Okay,
and
we're
get it
gonna
back
bring it
on
all
the
together, and
original
we can all
topic.
put, like, I'm telling you, everything leads back. All past, so we're like right wing shit, all past leaves the misogyny, like, weird
They
nerd shit,
do.
all leads back to how to be a better person.
That's true. And to answer the question in the chat, any relation to the mythological tale about Romulus? The reason for the naming of the film, well, I don't know if that was the reason for the naming of the film, but in the film, they go on a ship that is named Romulus, and it is a reference to the mythological um, character.
Well, I mean, like, there's Covenant, there's, hold on, what was the other one? I own all the movies. I don't know why I'm blinking.
Yes, there's
Morpheus,
Prometheus.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then, yeah, the others were different. But this one
but
is
okay, so,
more
but
similar
like,
to the original.
because like, isn't Romulus the one about the two wolves that were like,
Yes.
like the two
Romulus and
gods that
Remus
were like,
Lupin,
they were
the
rulers
professor.
of Rome?
Yes, Rome.
Rulers of Rome. And one was a tyrant and the other one was not a tyrant, if I remember correctly.
I don't
I don't
actually
know.
remember the details after they
I
were
know,
twins
I
and they
know,
were
I know the two brothers like were
Yeah.
raised by
Or
they were
brothers,
there
yeah.
and that became rulers of Rome. I know one of them was a complete asshole.
Oh, I'm surprised they both weren't, but I mean, I don't know.
I know it was some kind of like misogynistic, like, Roman, like, might versus right story, like, because that's how, they
Yeah.
were founders of Rome. Yeah, they were founders of Rome. Thank you, Bob. Like, yeah, thanks. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about how Alien Romulus leads back to how to be a better person.
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
my
that
xenomorph bug.
Okay, I love that you have the xenomorph mug. I now feel like I need some kind of xenomorph thing with me, but I don't have it like immediately. Oh, yes, I do.
I do.
Cool.
This is like
I got this for Christmas. This is my xenomorph satchel.
I love it.
I love this. It's fantastic.
it was a xenomorph Christmas.
Yay!
I do Yulemas because I was a former pagan, so we do Yule and we do Christmas, so we call it Yulemas. So in my house.
Excellent. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll kind
I
of
adopted that term, and it is now canon in the Green household. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about Romulus, Alien. Oh, just Alien, and how it and the xenomorph as a feminist icon and how to be a better person. Go.
Okay. Ooh, this is like speed round. Okay, so there's this whole book.
You don't have to go speed round, but I'm just saying that you brought it up, so I'm going to talk.
I did bring it up. Okay. It's like two separate things. I don't know, maybe it's not two separate things, but there's two separate threads now going in my head. One is feminism as it relates to secular humanism, and one is feminism as it relates to xenomorphs, and maybe they do kind of converge.
We're going to bring it together. We're going to bring it together.
Okay, so I would say
it is the perfect organism.
It's the perfect organism. And, the queen xenomorph is a female. But it is antagonized by, the protagonist of the show, antagonized by the protagonist, which is Ripley, who's also
Thank you. I know how stories work.
Yes. I confused myself, but anyway, there's this book.
I only tease you because I love you and you're one of my best friends, so I get to tease you.
It's fine. It is deserved.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I read this book one time for funsies called Alien Woman, and it was, like, clearly something that somebody wrote for their, like, master's thesis or PhD thesis or something, and then turned it into a book, and it was, like, the most fun thing I ever read. Yeah, The Making of Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, Alien Woman, and it's written in a very kind of dry academic style, but it's like a film studies analysis kind of book, and it goes over each of the films in the Alien franchise just through. It doesn't have the more recent ones. It doesn't have Prometheus and Covenant and Romulus because it was written before that, but it has the first four films in the series. And wait,
The
did I have
fourth is
another one?
a whew, whew.
Yeah, that one was a whole thing.
Whew.
Although
Oh,
this book
Josh
made
Whedon.
me
Oh no. Oh, Josh Whedon.
I did not enjoy that film when I originally watched it. However, this book did give me a new kind of lens to appreciate it through, because it was thinking about so kind of the theme throughout this book's analysis of the feminist themes in these films is that Ripley is kind of an embodiment of societal thinking and trends about how we're viewing gender and feminism and the role of women in society. And on the one hand, um, Ripley is kind of representing some of our conflicts around that. And on the
Mhm.
other hand, there's the xenomorph and Ripley's relationship to the xenomorph, particularly the xenomorph queen. Um, and they're in conflict, but also in some ways they're both in conflict with the larger threats in the film, which
Mhm.
are like the Wayland Yutani Corporation and the patriarchy. And
Everything's
it,
about the patriarchy.
yeah, it is kind of in that later film in the fourth one where Ripley sort of becomes a combination of the two because she's a clone that has both, you know, her own DNA and the xenomorph DNA, and she's now um, sort of more
A
connected to the
clone.
xenomorphs. Sort of more overtly in the film. And so that conflict that she has with those other forces, you can see more clearly that this is a conflict of, you know, the military industrial conflict versus women and nature, which I don't love the idea of conflating women and nature because that's theoretically problematic for some other reasons. But I like how
Yeah,
they,
that leads into
yeah, that's a whole,
divine feminine theology,
right.
and um the life death cycle, and like I like paganism's full of this shit.
Yes,
so
yes. And I
so
don't love
symbology,
that.
like I know, yeah, I've been
Yeah.
down that road.
Yeah, because it's also kind of reductive, when it comes, "Oh, you know, women are like Mother Earth." No, women are humans. Let's start with that first. But
I'm sorry, like I don't like, unlike Mother Earth, I don't kill my babies. So
Mm,
sorry. Like Mother Earth,
yeah,
she's kind of a cunt. I don't do
yeah.
that.
So, yeah, there's some problems with that, but, you know, let me back up a little bit, before we get to that point. It was interesting to kind of see, okay, I get where they were going with that, but I don't
Okay.
love that theoretical perspective. But I did really like how it kind of talks about when you watch. And what I did was I read one chapter. Each chapter was about one of the films, and then I would read the chapter and then watch that film, and then go to the next one. So it was kind of fun
To
to.
like have that, like that analysis in the forefront of your brain. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And now I can't unsee all of the anatomical imagery that goes along with
Well,
all of
like
the
I
xenomorph
watched,
stuff.
there was one particular YouTuber that I did used to like, and then he turned into a transphobe, and I was like, well, fuck this guy. But he did a, yeah, the first two films about like viewing it from a male essay lens, and
Oh,
also from a feminist lens. Um, and I was like, oh, okay, that's, and now when I watch those two movies, those are the things I think about.
mhm.
um, which is because now it's just there. Even
Yeah.
though I love both movies. Like I love Alien and Aliens. I like Aliens a little bit more because Beverly's a fucking badass. And as a
Yeah.
mother, like as a parent, like I get it. Like I'm like, yep,
Mhm.
I'm like, I would commit war crimes for my kid. Like I'm gonna kill some motherfuckers. Like, I get it.
Yes.
I get it. I get that. So I totally, and it's a badass movie. And like James Cameron, he has issues, but he does write really good female like action heroes. So and also like not to go on James Cameron kick, but like in Terminator 2, I like that Sarah Connor was traumatized, but it was also a badass and just trying to do her best.
Mhm.
Like I really appreciate that, because if I, like they didn't make her, like he made her flawed. Like if like this was a real person, what would the thing that would happen to them? And I was like, that's good for you, James Cameron.
I do really love that character as well, and she's, again, kind of similar to Ripley, depicted. Yeah, I don't even wanna describe it this way
Like
because it
he
sounds
does.
silly, but
I don't know if he like talked to like professional like like people that study like um traumatized people that
mhm,
still have like I wonder if he studied like soldiers that suffered from like PTSD or so. There's some like because I sit there as someone as a traumatized someone that was traumatized, and I'm like, I feel you. I see you. I see
yeah.
you.
Well, and that's good art if he's able to depict that in a way that people can relate to. Um,
Yeah,
I'm not a
so
fan of
I don't
necessarily
know,
all of his films,
like
but
he's
I
on
do
my
like
like
those.
he's problem like he also has some problematic stuff that I'm
Yeah,
like if you watch Avatar, there's a lot we can talk about.
there's a lot
But
going on there. I
there's
did
a lot
like
there.
Avatar, but it's
I okay, like
mhm,
to be fair, we went to okay, like sidebar. We're on so many sidebars. But we watched the first movie, and Todd and I were very stoned. We went to go see the first movie in the theater in 3D. It is beautiful. That first movie in the theater with 3D glasses is gorgeous. Two,
yes.
if you're completely ignoring what is actually happening in the movie, because we ended up buying it and I was watching it and I was like, this is really white savior shit. And this is really bad.
Yes.
and then like and then like, are you gonna see the second one? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna see the second one. I like myself.
Yes,
Because I'm
that was very disappointing about it because it had some elements to it that were good, but it's hard to get past that theme. Once you see that theme, which is, like, pretty prominent, it's just
I'm
uncomfortable.
like, and to know that the female character is played by a person of color, just it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm like, oh no, James Cameron, like don't do a
Yeah.
Pocahontas, don't do that.
It was basically that. I just yeah,
Like,
it was hard to get past. But, okay, let me bring it back so we can, like, wrap
okay,
up
so
on
I'm
an
sorry, like
on-topic note.
sidebars.
No, I love it. I love these sidebars, and we can I
Okay, we're
wanna
gonna go
do a
bring it
whole
back to
episode
okay,
with you where we talk
xenomorphs.
about movies.
How do you be a good person? Was
Yeah, so I want to go back to this idea about we talked about secular humanism, and we
right.
earlier went off on this tangent about how, well, but where does that leave us in relation to other species? And that was interesting. And then also, though, I want to talk about another piece of that, which is, again, I like the term secular humanist. And there's another perspective to it, which when I lived in Japan, which I was talking about earlier, I joined this feminist book club, which was the best thing I could have ever done while I lived in Japan because it was a super fun group and I love books and feminism, and I was lonely. So it was great.
All the things.
It all came together.
Feminism, books, and loneliness.
Yeah. It's perfect, and we read
It's a
sci-fi and
trifecta.
fantasy a lot, so everything came together.
It's all
Um,
come together. Oh
yes,
my god, I
but
love it.
the person who ran this book club, kind of made a big point about saying, "You know what? I don't describe myself as a humanist because I describe myself as a feminist, and those are not the same thing." And I was kinda like, "Well, yeah, but can't you be both?" And yes, I think you can. But she made a really interesting point, which is that some people use the term humanist to kind of hide behind and say, "Oh, well, I support all humans." Um, and then they refuse to describe themselves as a feminist. Some people will say, "Oh, no, I'm not a
Oh,
feminist. I'm a humanist. I support all humans." And that's kind of similar to
it's
when
not like
people
all
say
lives
something
matter.
like, "All lives matter." Yes, it's exactly that. Yeah, that's true. All lives do matter. We can all agree on that. But the situation that we live in is that some people's lives are being treated as though they matter, and some other people's lives are not being treated that way. And that's the issue that we want to fix. We agree that all lives matter, and we want to make sure that everyone gets treated that way, and they're not.
Like
So we need
our
to
group of
address
people
that.
are not actively being treated like second class citizens.
Right.
That's a
And so
fucking problem.
that's the problem. And so when someone
Like,
says, "Oh, no, no, I'm not a feminist because I'm a humanist," that to me is an issue because now you're hiding behind saying, "Oh, no, no, I support all people." Right? But not all people are being treated with the same amount of
well,
dignity and respect and privilege. And
and this leads back to the conversations we've had before about like performative progressivism. Like
mhm,
you say the right things, you do like forms of activism, but you don't really understand.
mhm,
You do it through your own. You do it from a how does this serve me rather than how does this serve other people.
mhm.
Because like it's like white people trying to take over like a Black Lives Matter movement.
Yes.
Like, oh, I have privilege, so let me use my privilege to help you, but I'm not, but I'm going to do it through a self-serving lens
Right.
rather than hearing people to explain like what their actual experience is and what they need from whatever service or support that you can give.
Right. It's a difference between I'm gonna promote myself by congratulating myself for helping these poor people and speaking
Right,
for them.
and which is not the point,
That's
and
not what we need to be
that's it,
doing.
or you're trying to get clout, or you're trying to get
Mhm.
laid, or you're whatever it is,
Ew.
like, we know these people. Like, um,
Ew.
we know these people. And
Mhm.
it's one of those things like you're talking the talk, but you're not walking the walk. Like
Right.
you're saying all the things that you should be saying, but you don't understand because like I say, like, I don't know what it's like to be a person of color.
Mhm.
I don't know what it's like to be like I'm a queer person, but I can pass,
Right.
like I have some privilege. I know what it's like to be
Mhm.
a woman living in the United States and it sucks balls. But
Yeah.
but so since I'm not a person of color and I'm not like, I am a queer person, but I present, cis and straight. Um I don't know what it's actively like to for people that are don't have that privilege. So I'm not going to assume that I know, and I want you to tell me what your experience is, and I want to be able to help you however I can. But I'm not going to say that my way is better. I'm just going to say like, what do you need me to do, and I will do it to the best of my ability. I think
Mhm.
that's I think that's the more reasonable approach to it rather than trying to insert like any sort of privilege I have into it out of like some kind of benefit to me, because then that completely defeats the point of the movements that we're trying to do.
Right. If your goal is to elevate everyone and make sure
Yeah.
that people are all being treated with the same level of dignity and respect and rights and privileges and everything like that, then any privilege that you have, you should be using towards that end, not using to further elevate yourself above other people while trying to gain clout by pretending to help, or patting yourself on the back for helping. You should be making a space for other people's voices to be heard, and that's how you help. So, anyway, that was kind of a long-winded way of saying humanism is great, but let's remember what we're talking about. If we're talking about all humans, and not all humans are currently experiencing the same circumstances, our efforts should be distributed in such a way that we're focusing on the people who are dealing with the most problems, the people who do not have the same privileges that we have, and that who are being targeted or who are particularly vulnerable. That's where more of our efforts should be placed. That doesn't mean that other people aren't important too. Everyone's important. And everyone should get to be treated with basic dignity, and some people aren't, and we need to be addressing that like it's the emergency that it is. So
And I don't think for a lot of people, like, again, I don't want to say, I'll say I'm going to say some people. I say a
mhm,
lot, but I don't think that's fair because I'm going to say some. I'm trying to be careful the way I use my language because if I
mhm,
say most, that isn't fair because
yeah,
I don't, but some, I'm going to say some.
yeah,
Some's a good word. Some people
some people.
um only have like they're just based on any kind of ideology indoctrination that they have, their thinking skills have been cut off and their empathy has been cut off because they've been taught that, like, their particular perspective is the only perspective that matters, and it's just like, cool. Good for you.
How
I don't live
nice.
in that world
Right.
because I'm not an island. And also too, like, the more that I learn from people that aren't like me, my life is more enriched because
Mhm.
I can't, because like you've had a different life than I've had, and like, but we're still very good friends, and I think that's important. Like, that's why I want to have as much diverse experiences with people around me as possible because that helps me grow as a person. And then I'm not sitting there going like, well, because I'm white and I'm better than you and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, that's not true. like
That's not true, and that's
like
not helpful.
it's not helpful. you know like, and then I said, because like we all tend to be biased and we all tend to have our cognitive um limitations of what we can experience because like we only have our own perspectives and I can't read somebody's mind. It was a really good episode. Okay, like Buffy has problems, but there's a really good episode where Buffy hears the thoughts of every single person around them, and at first it seems like a superpower, then becomes a burden. um because like if you don't have, but it helps her become a more empathetic person in the storyline, um which I think is important because like you can't hear other people's thoughts but you can hear their words.
Mhm.
And I think that you don't need to be inside somebody's mind to understand them as a person, and to hear what they're saying. But and I think those things need to be, especially now.
Mhm.
God, it's only been 4 days. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I put on BlueSky today. I was like, it's day 4.
I
I'm
know,
already exhausted. It's gonna be
I
a
know.
long 4 years. It's gonna be a
It
long
is.
4 years.
It is. And I think I'm not able to, type in the chat, but I was just gonna respond to someone
You can
saying,
actually, if you are on, you should be able to respond in the Studio Labs.
"Oh, that's weird. It didn't go through, but that's okay, I'll just say it." Somebody
Okay.
was talking about, like, do I have compassion for all people, but I don't have respect for some, and I agree. I think of respect as something that people
It's
kind of
earned.
they earn and they show for other people. That's something that you get from what you do. Compassion is something we can always have. And dignity is something that maybe we can think of as a baseline that all people get the dignity of being a human person, um, in terms of we're going to treat them like they exist as a human. You don't necessarily have to earn
But
that,
it's also the
but that's not the same thing
consequences,
as respect.
and also like how you behave as a woman, as a person, however that manifests, you also get the consequences. So
Right.
like if you are a like bigoted butthead, I will acknowledge that you are a human being, and
Right.
I will not cause you harm, but you do not get my respect. Like, and
Right.
like, I will extend enough compassion for you to become a better person. Like, that's
Mhm.
like, I think that is the goal. Like, I hope that you grow and be a better person. Like,
Mhm.
that is my compassion part. But
Right.
respect, no, you don't get respect, because I'm like,
That's not
you're
automatic.
saying, you're like, no, dude, you don't, because you're saying really horrible things, and I think it's gross, and you're making the world worse, so you don't get any respect. But I hope, as a compassionate person, I would
Mhm.
like you to grow and become better. And I
Right.
don't want it to, and I recognize you as a fellow human.
Right.
You
We
a
can all
shit human, kinda.
Yeah,
Like,
we
I
can all
think
think
you're
of
a shit.
times that, we've behaved badly, maybe not as badly as some people, but, you
I'm
can
not
be a human
listen, I get
being
mad and say dumb
and be
things
in a bad
sometimes. I'm
place.
not trying to take away other people's rights. Like, I'm not
Exactly.
making policies to say that one group of people is better than another group of people.
Yeah. We
I
don't
don't
have
do
to
that.
respect that. We don't have to pretend like that's a good idea. It's not, and
Yeah, you can be both.
yeah. You can be a human
Like,
being
I
that
can
says bad things.
actively hate someone and still want them to be a better person.
Yeah.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
They're not, because that would mean that we're getting down on their level, and then they're gonna beat us with experience. I think that might be a Mark Twainism or one of
It's a
those
Mark
phrases that
Twainism,
is
but
attributed to him, but
well, like I like when Mark Twain said that, he's like, I never wish death upon anybody, but I've read some obituaries with glee. And I'm like, yes, yes. Thank you, Samuel Adam.
yeah.
thank,
I also
thank
like
you.
I've
No,
lived
not
through a
Samuel,
lot of
Samuel
bad
Collins,
things in my
Samuel
life, some
Collins.
of which actually happened.
Yeah, like, I'm like, thank you. Thank you, Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Also, just being Mark Twain, have you seen the stories of Mark Twain, like the claymation um stuff?
No,
There's
but I
okay,
want
there's
to.
one. Okay, okay, chat. Have you seen this? There's one where Mark Twain, he there, so there's this like claymation where Mark Twain is taking these kids like through history, but the last session is like Mark Twain takes these two kids to hell. And when I was a child, freaked my shit out. Like, I watched it recently. You used to find out like Mark Twain, like it's like it was, I can't, I think it was like a special, and I watched it, and it is creepy and it's existential as fuck. But
I mean,
it was so
claymation
creepy.
is always an experience.
Claymation is his own thing. But like, it's Mark Twain go to hell, and it's I was like, oh my, and I watched it as an adult, and it's so creepy. Like, because I was like, well, maybe because I was a child. No, it's so creepy. It like, and I don't believe in the devil anymore. And it's still like, it's weird. It's fucking
Well,
weird.
I have
So,
Googled this, and I am going to watch it, and we're gonna get back
oh my
together,
god,
and we are gonna
yeah,
discuss
we're gonna
that
talk about it.
and
We can
Alien
have
Romulus.
some trauma bonding because
Yes,
it's
we
fucked up.
do. I
So,
cannot
but
wait.
okay, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to the topic. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and then we gotta wrap up because I gotta go
yeah,
at some point here, but
yeah, I know we will. Okay, like we've
yeah,
been at this for 2 hours because I was late. Okay, because I forgot how to do a live stream. Apparently,
things happen.
that happened. Um, so based on your, I'm also I've had now a glass and a half of wine, but I'm gonna be a good interviewer. so
Yes.
so um since you've been actively involved in the secular activist side of things, um, you know, doing the work with recovering from religion and other, things that you care about since like leaving any sort of like religious structure. I'm curious of what lessons you have learned personally about how to be a good person, even though like religion isn't part of your life anymore. Like, what are some things that you've learned along the way that have you think have made you a more empathetic and kind person?
Yeah, so I think that it has been, so some people learn through experience and other people are more obtuse than that, and I am that, and I have to, like, get it, like, beaten over my head, and also I need to read in a book, and then I need someone to explain it to me out loud, and then there needs to be a test. So anyway, I learned it in school, and it was when I, I took some
I love you.
classes. I know. You know what? I just finally occurred to me that, like, I don't get subtlety. I need someone to just explain it, preferably with, like, charts and graphs.
Charts and graphs.
Yeah. Don't hint
Like
at
what
what
pie
you mean,
charts?
just tell me. And, I took some classes on how to interact with the other humans, and I found those to be very valuable because then I understood better how to interact with the other humans.
We're complicated creatures.
Humans are really complicated. So if anybody has a chance to take a class on something like, interpersonal relations or conflict resolution, highly recommend. And some of the things that I learned are some of the things that we talked about today, like the books that I mentioned.
Just take a class on personality psychology. Just take a class on
Yes,
that. That will help a lot.
yes, that is super helpful. And just recognizing things like, sometimes people may say something that you disagree with. And like, okay, the best piece of advice that I got in grad school learning about conflict is going to sound like, the most basic information ever to probably 95% of people. But if you're like me, it's not obvious. A professor finally took me aside and said, "Hey, Kara, did you consider that you don't have to be provoked when someone says something
I don't have to be
that you
provoked.
don't like? What if What if, speaking hypothetically, what would happen if you weren't provoked?" I was like, I don't know. I never considered
I
that
don't know what
before."
that would be like. What are you talking about, dear sir?
Right. Well, maybe you should try it. And it turns out that works really well. So, it's easier said than done.
I love it. What
But
would happen if
there's
you weren't provoked?
what would happen? There's this analogy in one of the books that we read in school in Not Getting Provoked School. There
Not
are
getting
these
provoked.
in
Sorry.
Provoked School. We learned about this.
I miss college.
I know it's time to go back. Do I have the money for that? No, but whatever.
I would love it
Um,
if I would totally be um who is it in Arrested Development? That's what was a constant scholar.
no idea.
Fuck.
Who?
Who on Arrested Development that was constantly in school, like never graduated. Like,
Oh, I did graduate. I just keep going back.
I'm blanking it. Oh my god! I had to look at there was a joke there.
Okay, we will wait for the joke.
Oh, Buster! I would be Buster. Like just constantly going, like never graduate, constantly in school. In my 48-year-old dad, I'm gonna be 48 in like 3 months, in like 2 months. So
Oh, yeah.
I would be totally Buster.
I'm for it. You know what? I think if you have the opportunity, which not everybody does, to go to school or take a class or take a continuing education class or take a class on YouTube, like it's worth your time. If you
Watch
have the
the
time to
great
devote to that.
courses. Oh my god!
Yeah.
We watch. Sorry, sidebar.
Yeah.
Dr. Ben and a bunch of us that are in Discord, we watched a big thing about like gender in the Bible, like, and how that's not on a spectrum. That is also on a spectrum. And
Yeah.
it was gender and sexuality in the Bible. And even that about like the historical context and how gender was perceived. And even so, like, even in biblical times, gender was also on a spectrum.
Of course it was.
So
This has been the case
of course it
throughout
was.
all of
Yes,
human
because
history and
guess what?
prehistory.
Humans be humans since
Right.
humans be humans. So it was
People that
so
want to try and
fascinating though.
pretend that gender not being binary is new have no grasp of history. The idea of
Right.
gender being binary is the thing that's relatively new, and also does
Right.
not
And
reflect
so
human
I was like,
experience.
so it was really cool because,
Sorry.
again, like I didn't have to like sign up for a $300 class a semester. I was just like,
Right.
wow, I learned about like the biblical history of gender in like, 3 hours.
Yeah. Open
Like I'm
source
sure, like, because there was
content is
people way
great.
smarter than me. That's like that's not fair. People that had a specific
Mhm.
education on this particular topic. I'm a jack of
Mhm.
all trades. I have a Rolodex of random information in my brain that I can pull out at any time. Though I'm very well versed in psychology, even though I don't have letters after my name.
Right. And you don't have to have letters after your name to know things. Um, and I
It
highly
just says
recommend.
you're very good at this particular, and that's good though because you need specialists. So for
Yes.
people like me who are intelligent to take that information in and go, oh, like I'm curious. I want to learn more new things because I like to
Right.
learn because then my brain expands and then I'm not like sitting there going like my only perspective is my perspective and I'm always right all the time.
No, that's not it, and this is a pitfall that a lot of people have, like, the more letters that you get after your name, the more specialized you are in a particular topic, but the deeper you delve into that topic, the more and more specialized you become, and the more narrow the area of your knowledge gets, and yes, you may
Because
be at the
isn't the thing
pinnacle of
that
knowledge
even if you're well versed in
on
a
that
topic,
topic.
you know how much you don't know.
You know how much you don't know, and ideally, you realize that although I have so much knowledge and am such an expert on this one thing, I
Right.
have no such thing on any other topic in the world. You are not now the foremost expert on every topic in the world. You're the foremost expert on that one single topic, and you don't know jack about most other topics, and you need to come humbly into the room, and recognize that other people know things about other topics that you don't. And okay, I will end with that. That was the other thing I learned in How to Get Along Better with the Human School is you should strive to be the most humble person in the room. You're not going to go wrong with that.
Yes.
And
Oh my
I
God,
think that was
please.
good
Like
advice.
whenever like I'm like I was whenever I do like a TikTok and I'm talking about like like science topics like evolution or like cosmology. I'm like, please do not listen to me. like I have
Yeah.
a layman's like base knowledge of this stuff. Like I can look up Wikipedia, I can go into Wikipedia. I know how to look up like sources. Like that's something I know how to do because I went to college. I
Mhm.
know how to vet a source. That I know
Right.
how to do.
And that's an
But
important
if
skill.
you it's a very important skill, and I know how to critically think. Like those are
Mhm.
two skills I have. Okay, I can say I know how to critically think, and I know how to look up sources. I think, and those are basic. like,
And those are things if you come away with that, you're gonna be able to navigate information in your life going forward.
but also too, like I do recognize that my bias will kick in because sometimes people will ask me to look up things and I want to prove them wrong, but then the information that comes up, I'm like, oh, this isn't actually. Oh, and then I'm like, well, and I have an emotional reaction because I'm emotionally motivated. And then
Mhm.
I have to take a step back and go, this is what this actually says. And I'm like, I am, and I will apologize for an emotional reaction because I'm biased. And and the facts don't care about my bias. And if you're being intellectually honest, that is the thing to do. But regardless of that, regardless of facts, like I just want to be nice and a kind person. And I don't think this has little to do with ideology. It just means more about like, we can debate about philosophy. I'm more concerned about your actions.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
that and that's I'm glad we kind of got to that because that's
Yeah.
where I land on this too. We can debate all day long about what does it philosophically mean to be right or moral or ethical, and we will never land probably on a definitive 100% true all the time, universal answer to that question. But we can do things that support other people and make the world a better place and don't tear other people down and, in fact, don't cause harm to others. We can have a working definition of
We
what
can
it
do
means to be a
both.
good person. And we
Because
don't have
like,
to nail down the philosophical details to 100%.
well,
It's okay.
like this is one thing, I'm just gonna say this because Seth, I
Mhm.
told him, I'm when I was thinking about becoming an atheist activist and I was going through the whole deconstruction, who am I, what kind of person I want to be now that I don't have belief. I
Mhm.
said one of the things that he inspired me to be was to be kind. And he
Yeah.
says, we can debate all day about philosophy of whether a God exists or not. Right. Exactly. like like you can always choose to be a kind person. And
Mhm.
I think that especially in our circles, we if someone is religious, like our natural instinct is to be reactive and not consider the person first. And
Right.
Seth taught me to consider the person first and their philosophy second. And I think that's more important. I have limits. Like, I believe in God, that is a debate. We can have that conversation. But as soon, even if I'm in a philosophical debate with someone, if someone starts coming in and attacking that person and starts to make assumptions about them, I'll be like, how do you feel about this person? I wouldn't want people making assumptions about me because I don't have your experience. And I think that we have to recognize that's why I'm recognizing the human in all of us is more important than an ideology, even as skeptics, atheists. Because guess what? Like, at the end of the day, whether God existed or not, we are all just trying to get through the day.
Yes.
And trying to do our best. I hate to say it, even people that are totally terrible are, they think they're correct, and they're also just trying to get through the day. They're just doing it in this very harmful way. And I'm not saying I am not the person to change their mind. um but if we can, again, respect versus compassion, offering compassion,
Mhm.
I hope you learn better to do better. I want that for
Absolutely.
you, but you
Yes.
do not get my respect.
Yeah, we don't have
Because
to
respect
respect
would
bad behavior.
imply that I was in agreement with you in some way.
Yeah. We can disagree and
Yeah.
still have compassion for someone. We don't have to excuse, or respect bad ideas and bad
I will
behavior.
never respect a bigot.
We
I
can
am
give
sorry.
people dignity.
I will never. Sorry,
No,
I'm not. It's not going to happen.
don't respect
I'm
that.
like, oh my god, no.
Don't respect that.
I have too many people in life that I love and care about, of
Yeah,
different backgrounds
no.
and variety of people, that I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, no, please stop.
Don't condone, don't agree. But that may be that person's best
But
that
I
we're
hope you become
seeing, and I hope
better.
it gets better.
So, speaking of, so we're gonna wrap it up, because we've
Yeah,
been at this for
I gotta go to
an
bed.
hour, and yeah, and you have to go to bed. I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate for at least an hour and a half before
I
I go
love
to
that.
bed.
I love that.
So, next week, our friend Cynthia McDonald's going to be here, because she's.
Yay!
I don't know if you saw it in the group chat. I was like, "Hey, does
I did.
anyone want to be on my channel?" And Cynthia was like, "Helen, you have not invited me." And I was like, "Shame me."
Shame.
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 Is it a kink? Probably. I like. Do I like to be shamed? Kind of. But anyway, that's a different conversation. Anywho, so Cynthia's going to be talking about. Okay, Okay, we're going to talk about some humanistic shit. I think it's going to be a continuation of this conversation about how to be a better humanist and how to be a better activist. There was a title I came up with. I would have to pull up the calendar. Do I want that? No, but I will make a thumbnail, and you all know what's going to happen. But Cynthia will be here next week.
Yay!
And then,
well, I'm going to watch. I can't
so
wait.
that's coming up. So they'll be here next Thursday. And so come watch Cynthia talk to me for an hour about how to be more humanistic. So, which is always good. I know, because they're awesome. Okay. So otherwise, the rest of you, please share my channel. I have COVID now, so buy me coffee and happiness, because Ember made me. Because Ember's like, because somebody said, like, if we want to give you money, and I was just like, okay. like I wasn't actively trying to get money, but somebody was like, I will give you money. And I was like, okay. I'm like, the way I'm looking at, like, if I can make $27 a month just to pay for the streaming service, that's fine. Like, oh my God, I'm not, like, this is a very niche place we're in. Like, especially me, because I'm not arguing with theists. Like, I just I'm like, let's have conversations about how to be better in the world. And also I want people to come on and talk about whatever they want to talk about for an hour and a half, because I want to put the human in humanness. That's the goal, everybody. Okay, so it's on that. Be kind. Car show your t-shirt. Be kind. Give someone a compliment. Stay skeptical. And I will see everybody next week. Thank you all for being here. And that's all the things. So like, subscribe, leave a comment. Even if you just put comment to drive the algorithm up, that's fine too, because the only God I serve is the algorithm God. So because the lizard overlords are now going to command our lives. Goodbye, everybody. See you all next week. All the love. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Bye.